Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto was Dungeon Master in Danmachi. Before I start, please support for more amazing content and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by KYUUBI16 and link in description and support writer. Let's start the video. Story start. 0. Opening his eyes, Naruto found himself not the afterlife he had imagined but on rough wooden planks under a low stone ceiling. His limbs felt frail, his body distinctly different from what he remembered. When he tried to channel chakra, all that came was a flicker of energy in his fingertips, a far cry from the potent reserves he once possessed. Confusion overtook him, then suspicion, but above all a curious sense of calm. He was alive. Or, at least, something close to it. Gingerly, he stood, noticing his attire. Simple, ragged pants and a shirt that smelled faintly of dust and mildew. His feet brushed against the creaky floorboards as he shuffled to a small window. The view beyond nearly stole his breath. Rising in the distance was a massive white tower, impossibly tall, spearing into the clouds. Around it sprawled an immense city of stone walls and winding streets, teeming with life. He hadn't known what to expect from death, but it certainly wasn't this. Pushing the door open, Naruto stepped out into an alley drowned in midday sun. The sounds that greeted him were of a vibrant marketplace, calls of vendors hawking produce, clangs of metal from smithies, and chatter of passers-by. He inhaled deeply, letting the swirl of scents, fresh baked bread, pungent spices, and lingering sweat wash over him. But no sign of his old life remained. Not Konoha's mountain faces, not the smell of ramen from Ichiraku, not the swirl of ninjas on rooftops. This was a different world entirely. For a moment, panic flared in him. Then, the old Naruto spirit kicked in. Focus on the present, he reminded himself. He had once told himself to never give up, no matter the odds or confusion. That creed would guide him even now. He had nothing but the clothes on his back, no money, no friends, no place to stay, and only the faintest flicker of energy to defend himself if trouble arose. Yet Naruto felt a kinship with the bustling life around him. He had once been an outcast in his own home, too. Here, everyone was a stranger to him, and he to them. Perhaps this was a second chance to do better, to become someone who made a difference from the ground up. Within minutes, the labyrinthine alley spat him out into a wide plaza. A giant fountain sparkled in the sun, children laughing as they ran circles around it. Stalls of fruit, bread, and trinkets lined the edges. The tower he had glimpsed from the window, Babel, someone called it, loomed grandly overhead. Naruto's keen eyes darted from face to face. Elves, dwarves, animal-eared humans, and other races he couldn't name mingled freely. His confusion grew, but so did his excitement. He didn't notice that the moment he began to walk, certain eyes were already on him, drawn by his sun-kissed hair and the unwavering resolve lighting up his features. Naruto's first day in Arario was a whirlwind of discovery and confusion. Merchants shouted in a language close enough to the one he knew that he could understand if he listened carefully. He gleaned that everyone referenced gods, familiars, and something called the dungeon. No one mentioned chakra or jutsu, terms he quietly tested in conversation, only to be met with puzzled looks. His stomach growled loudly around midday, a reminder of bodily needs he had nearly forgotten. With no money, he was forced to rely on his wit. On the outskirts of the marketplace, he spotted a bustling street of small restaurants. One of them serving skewers of meat drew his attention. Salivating at the aroma, Naruto approached the vendor, an older man with a tired smile. "Excuse me," Naruto said, mustering his most polite tone. "I'm new in town and I know this sounds strange, but I don't have any valis." That was what people in the crowd called their currency. "Is there any work I can do for a meal?" The vendor raised an eyebrow but looked at Naruto's ragged appearance and youthful features. The man sighed, then jerked his chin towards some crates behind the stall. "Stack those neatly by the wall. Help me clean up before closing, and I'll give you enough skewers for dinner." Relief flooded Naruto. "Thank you, sir." He got to work, remembering how he used to do menial tasks in Konoha for spare change. The labor was humble, but it grounded him. When he finished, the vendor handed him 2 generously filled skewers. The spicy, grilled meat was heaven on his tongue. The hours that followed saw Naruto wandering the streets, stacking crates at other stalls, sweeping doorsteps, any menial work that would buy him enough food to survive. He soon learned that Arario was a place where humans and demi-humans, animal-like people with ears or tails, coexisted, all overshadowed by the presence of gods who had descended from somewhere called Tenkai. These gods formed familias. Households where they shared divine blessings, Falna, with mortals in return for devotion and achievements. The Falna turned ordinary people into adventurers capable of exploring the sprawling dungeon beneath Babel Tower. He heard snippets from hushed conversations and gossip. The Loki Familia's expedition ended last week. Freya Familia's top adventurers are unbelievably strong, though it was all new to him. Naruto felt an inexplicable spark of interest whenever he overheard talk of the dungeon. Something about the challenge, the way people risk their lives to become stronger, to earn wealth, and to protect Aurario from the terrors within it reminded him a little of ninja missions, only with fewer illusions and more straightforward monster bashing. As the sun dipped below the rooftops, the city took on a different hue. Laughter spilled from taverns, lantern light illuminating the roads. Naruto, having no coin to rent a room, drifted through dimly lit alleys until he found a spot under a broad overhang near a warehouse. It would shelter him from the night chill. Sitting there, back against the wall, he stared at the faint glow of Babel in the distance. On the third day, luck found him in an unexpected way. Naruto was helping a frazzled mother locate a runaway child near the city's outer walls. He'd caught the little girl rummaging through a pile of crates by the stables, tears in her eyes as she clutched a broken doll. Naruto approached slowly, speaking with a gentle tone he used back in his old life with frightened kids. Eventually, he coaxed her back, mending the doll's torn arm with a bit of bandage he found. When he returned the child to her grateful mother, an onlooker wearing a hooded cloak stepped forward. Naruto couldn't see the face beneath, but from the figure's delicate posture, he guessed it was a woman. "You handle children very gently, stranger," the cloaked person said, voice melodic. "Are you a caretaker?" Naruto shook his head. "Not exactly. I just like helping people." The woman regarded him for a moment, then lowered her hood. She had gentle features and silver hair that cascaded over her shoulders. Her eyes sparkled with curiosity and something else, an ageless warmth. "I am Irene, goddess of peace and negotiation. I've been observing you for a while. You have an aura unlike most I've seen in Aurario. You're hard to define." At the word goddess, Naruto felt a jolt. This was a deity in the flesh. From his gleaned knowledge, deities had come down to the mortal realm, sealing most of their powers, to experience life among the people. Irene carried herself with a serene presence, which reminded Naruto of the Sage of Six Paths in fleeting glimpses. "I've only been here a few days," Naruto replied cautiously. "It's a lot to take in." Irene smiled in a way that put him at ease. "I can imagine. But if you're looking for guidance, know that gods sometimes extend help to those who have potential. My familia is small, we focus on conflict resolution rather than dungeon crawling. However, I sense in you a willingness to stand up for others, no matter the personal cost." Naruto considered her words carefully. This might be his chance to learn more about the fauna and secure a stable path. Yet something in him hesitated. He didn't want to leap at the first offer of divine blessing, no matter how kind the goddess seemed. In his old life, he'd learned that alliances formed hastily could have dire consequences. "Thank you," Naruto said slowly, "but I want to explore the city a bit more. Learn about the different familias, what they do. I don't want to choose blindly." Irene regarded him with no disappointment, only understanding. "A wise choice. Should you need me, my familia's home is near the western quarter. Ask for the House of Concordia. We keep our doors open to seekers of peace." With a final nod, she left, disappearing into the crowd. Naruto released a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. He was touched by her offer, but his instinct told him to keep searching, to find a calling that resonated with him completely and would allow him to live by the ideals he had cherished in his previous life. A week passed, and Naruto's routine became something of an odd mixture of manual labor, exploration, and eavesdropping on adventurers. He figured that if he wanted to truly find where he belonged, he should understand the heartbeat of the city, the dungeon. His opportunity came when a trio of low-level adventurers invited him to join them on a resource-gathering trip. They needed an extra set of arms to carry loot, and Naruto's friendly demeanor had apparently convinced them he was trustworthy. Without a fauna, he would be at risk, but they promised to stick to the first few floors. In the early morning, they gathered at the massive entrance to the dungeon beneath the Tower of Babel. The air thrummed with anticipation. Naruto followed them down, heart hammering. He hadn't felt this kind of excitement since stepping onto his first real ninja mission. The stone corridors of the upper floor were lit by faintly glowing crystals. Adventurers moved in small groups, weapons at the ready. Occasionally, a monster, a goblin or a kobold would spring from the shadows, only to be dispatched quickly. Naruto carried a stout wooden club one of the adventurers had lent him. The weapon felt unfamiliar compared to kunai or shuriken, but he adapted quickly. As they encountered their first goblin, Naruto dodged the creature's wild swing and countered with a precise strike to its temple. His movements weren't as fast or sharp as in his shinobi days, lacking the boosting effect of chakra. Still, reflexes honed over years of training guided him well enough. The goblin fell, dissolving into black dust and leaving behind a small purple crystal, the magic stone at its core. "Nice job," said Julius, the party leader. He was a tall human with short, messy brown hair and a worn short sword. It's not often a newcomer can handle a monster so easily without a fauna. Naruto shrugged, grinning sheepishly. "Guess I just had a good teacher once." In truth, he missed the subtle hum of chakra reinforcement around his limbs. But he made do, leaning on the muscle memory of Taijutsu. Each floor they descended, the corridors twisted. Sometimes, new walls formed or old ones vanished. The adventurers explained that the dungeon was alive, constantly shifting. Naruto found it equally fascinating and unsettling. They only went as far as the 5th floor. By then, they had collected a decent bundle of magic stones, which they would later sell for Valis. On the way back, Naruto noticed something. He could sense traces of ambient energy in the stone walls, not chakra, but a different, more primal force. It made the hair on his neck stand on end. He realized that, if harnessed, perhaps it could fill the void left by his lost chakra. But how? When they emerged into daylight again, all 4 of them were sweaty and tired. Julius clapped Naruto's shoulder. "You sure you don't have a fauna? You fight like you've had practice." Naruto only smiled and shrugged, not wanting to reveal too much of his past life. After they parted ways at the exchange, Naruto studied the meager Valis he'd earned. It wasn't much, but it was a start enough to buy him a couple of nights at a cheap inn and a few meals. More importantly, he'd gotten his first real taste of dungeon crawling. At night, in a cramped but clean room, Naruto lay on a thin mattress, staring at the ceiling. Without the blessings of a deity, he was dangerously limited. He'd have to find a familia that resonated with his ideals. Still, the memory of Irene lingered. She had been kind, yet her familia focused on diplomatic solutions and rarely ventured into the dungeon. Naruto needed a more active role. With that settled in his mind, he resolved to keep looking. If her area was as vast as it seemed, there had to be a place for him somewhere among the city's tapestry of gods and mortals. Over the next month, Naruto drifted into the slums on the city's far side. He hadn't planned to end up there, but inflated inn prices and scarce opportunities for new adventurers without fauna left him few choices. The slums were a patchwork of dilapidated buildings, narrow alleys, and a constant sense of desperation. Yet Naruto felt strangely at home. He remembered his childhood, an orphan with no status or money, surviving on wit and leftover food from kind strangers. Here, he met people overlooked by Arario's prosperity. Children who scrounged for scraps, elderly folks too frail to work, and laborers barely scraping by. Despite having little himself, Naruto found ways to share what food he had or help carry heavy loads for those too weak. His actions garnered quiet respect. One night, he stumbled upon a group of thugs cornering a scrawny, dirt-smeared boy clutching a ragged bag of stolen fruit. The boy shook with fear under their mocking sneers. Naruto remembered all too well what it felt like to be on the receiving end of cruelty. Without hesitation, he stepped forward. "Leave him alone," Naruto said evenly, his voice cutting through the tension. The thugs turned, saw only a seemingly unarmed blonde. One sneered, brandishing a short blade. "Kid, you don't want trouble." Naruto inhaled slowly. Even if his energy was weak, he wasn't powerless. In a swift move, he knocked the blade aside with his forearm and delivered a quick palm strike to the man's chest. The thug staggered, eyes wide. Another lunged, but Naruto ducked, sweeping the attacker's legs. Within moments, they were all on the ground, groaning. The boy escaped, scampering down an alley with wide, grateful eyes. It wasn't a grand, heroic act by shinobi standards, but it was enough to make a difference for that child. It also caught the attention of a few watchers in the slums. In the weeks that followed, more people came to trust Naruto. Some even offered him small chores in gratitude. One day, while repairing a broken fence, Naruto felt a presence behind him. He turned to see a tall woman with short, spiky hair and tanned skin in Amazon. She regarded him with curious amber eyes. "People say you're good in a fight," she said. "But you're not registered to any familia. Why is that?" Naruto wiped his brow. "I'm still looking for one that fits me." The Amazon nodded slowly, muscles rippling beneath her leather armor. "You've made a friend or two here. Just know that loyalty matters to us. If you join a familia, you might not stay in these parts as often. Don't forget the people here." Naruto didn't know the woman, but he sensed sincerity behind her words. "I won't," he promised. "I have no intention of abandoning them." She grinned. "Then perhaps we'll see each other again." With that, she vanished down the alley. At night, Naruto sat under the flickering light of a makeshift lantern, thinking about how Aurelio reminded him of a bigger, more complicated version of Konoha. And he was certain that an adventurer's path beckoned, if only he could find the right guide. Naruto's second trip into the dungeon was far more dangerous than the first. He went with a different group, 3 adventurers from a small familia known for floor diving on the upper levels. They'd promised a simple run, but one of them, a mage named Tobias, got overconfident. He lured the party deeper than planned, into the 7th floor, chasing after a rumored treasure drop. Things turned sour when they ran into a pack of silverbacks. The hulking ape-like monsters wielded brute strength and swarmed fast. Naruto felt the air thicken with fear as the creatures charged. Without a fauna, he only had his physical skills. But the others in the party, though level 1 adventurers, were still novices at heart. "Hold formation," shouted Carmen, their spear wielder, her voice shaking. One silverback roared, batting her aside like a doll. She slammed into the wall with a sickening crunch. Naruto's heart hammered. Think. He'd dealt with monstrous foes before, but always with chakra to back him up. Now, he had to rely on strategy. The corridor was narrow, the stone walls jagged. He spotted a small outcropping overhead. If he could lure a silverback beneath it, perhaps he could force a collapse. "Get back!" He shouted at Tobias and the other adventurer, a swordsman named Lyle. They scrambled clear just as one silverback lunged forward, a meaty fist swinging. Naruto ducked, letting it smash into the wall. A portion of rock loosened from above, and Naruto jumped, kicking it hard. The chunk of stone dislodged fully, crashing down on the monster's skull. The silverback roared in pain and anger. Another beast closed in from behind. Naruto pivoted, slamming his borrowed weapon, a sturdy short sword, into the creature's side. The blade bit deep, but not enough to fell it. The silverback swung wildly, catching Naruto's shoulder. Pain exploded, and he toppled. Before the monster could deliver a killing blow, a streak of fire magic from Tobias blasted it. The sudden flare gave Naruto time to roll away. Breathing raggedly, he seized Carmen's fallen spear and hurled it at the first silverback, striking its neck. Blood spurted, and the monster's ape collapsed. The others, spooked by the display, pounded their chests and backed off momentarily. That was enough for Tobias and Lyle to grab Carmen's unconscious form. "Retreat," Naruto ordered, voice hoarse. They sprinted down a side passage, the silverbacks hot on their heels. One monster's hand grazed Naruto's back, nearly throwing him off balance. He refused to let fear consume him. "They can't all fit through the narrower tunnel ahead," he thought. "If we keep moving." At last, they reached a narrow corridor that forced the silverbacks into single file. Tobias used another fire spell to stall them, and they made it to the safety of the upper floors. By the time they emerged into daylight, their party was battered, shaken, but alive. Carmen's injuries looked bad, but at least she was breathing. Healers rushed to their side. Despite the adrenaline still coursing through his veins, Naruto felt a wave of exhaustion. He'd come close to dying. Without a fauna, his human limits were excruciatingly obvious. Even with cunning, there was only so much he could do. Carmen's familiar captain arrived soon after, fury in his eyes at Tobias for leading them recklessly. Yet when he glanced at Naruto, his expression softened. "You saved them," the captain noted. "We owe you." Naruto said nothing, only bowing his head. He felt relief overshadowed by frustration at his helplessness. The experience cemented his resolve. It was time to find a goddess or god whose ideals matched his own. The following week saw Naruto visiting various familiar compounds around the city. Each deity had a reputation, a domain of interest, and a set of values that shaped their household. He found that some familia like Ganesha's focused on public events and controlling monsters, while others like Hephaestus's were known for blacksmithing prowess. Loki familia boasted formidable adventurers, but their compound was a fortress, and the goddess's boisterous nature seemed to overshadow prospective recruits. At each place, Naruto spoke with members, listened to their stories, and tried to measure if their goals resonated with his. He discovered that deities had to personally bestow the fauna through a ritual that inscribed hieroglyphics onto the adventurer's back. It was an intimate act, one that forged a bond of family in this new world. But none of the familias he visited quite clicked. Some had values he admired, but their main operations didn't match the kind of active protective role he envisioned. Others seemed too militaristic or too mercantile, prioritizing profit over people. It was in the midst of this search that rumors began circling about a new familia goddess with few or no followers. However, Naruto struggled to find solid leads on her location. Her name was Hestia, from what he gleaned, but she was elusive, rumored to be living in a rundown old church. One afternoon, discouraged, he took a break in a secluded courtyard near the city center. The white stone arches provided shade from the sun. He sank onto a bench, running a hand through his messy blonde hair. "Giving up so soon?" came a light voice from behind. Naruto turned to see Irene again, the goddess of peace. She walked over, her silver hair catching the light. Her gentle gaze took in his troubled face. "Not giving up," he said softly, just confused. She took a seat beside him. "You're searching for a family, aren't you? One that understands your desire to protect others, not exploit them." Naruto nodded, uncertain how much to reveal. Irene folded her hands in her lap. "Our city is filled with many gods, many ideals. It can be overwhelming, but trust that your heart will guide you. If you truly seek to defend the weak and stand as a beacon of hope, a suitable familia will appear." He smiled ruefully. "I appreciate your faith. But so far, I haven't found it." They spoke at length about the nature of fauna. Irene explained how the blessing evolved with the adventurer's experiences, turning feats into concrete stat growth. "It's not just raw power," she stressed. "It's an expression of your will, shaped by the bond with your deity." Before she left, she lightly placed a hand on Naruto's shoulder, warmth spreading from the contact. "Remember," she said, "it takes courage to stand by your convictions. The path is often more winding than we hope." Naruto watched her depart, feeling a renewed flicker of hope. Irene's words reminded him of another mentor's gentle guidance in a past life, Iruka-sensei, or perhaps even Kakashi. Despite the gloom of his fruitless search, Naruto resolved not to compromise on his ideals. If it took him another month or even a year, he would find a home that supported his dream of protecting everyone who needed it. Story start. 0. It was well into the evening when Naruto Uzumaki found himself wandering Arario's dimly lit back alleys. Suddenly, a sharp cry pierced the quiet. Naruto froze, heart pounding. He sprinted toward the source, rounding a corner to see two disheveled thugs hovering over a petite figure. One brandished a small knife. The other sneered cruelly. Their victim looked cornered and terrified. "Hand over that pouch, brat," the taller thug growled, extending his blade. "Hey!" Naruto shouted, stepping between them before he even had time to think. "Leave her alone." The men turned, eyes narrowing at the sight of a scruffy blonde in tattered clothes. One lunged without warning. Naruto shifted back with practiced ease, hooking his foot behind the attacker's ankle. With a quick twist, he sent the man sprawling to the ground. The other thug snarled and charged, only for Naruto to block and deliver a precise elbow strike to the ribs. Both men cursed, staggering away. They shot Naruto dark glances, then bolted into the shadows. The alley fell silent once more, save for the panting of the small figure behind him. "Are you okay?" Naruto asked, turning around. She nodded, trembling slightly. "Yes, thank you," came her soft voice. I thought they were going to." Her words trailed off. Relief shone in her wide blue eyes. It took him a moment to note her features in the dim light. She stood only about 140 centimeters tall, about 4 feet 7 inches, and had the kind of petite, youthful appearance that made her look a few years younger than she likely was. Her midnight black hair was tied into twin tails trailing all the way down to her mid-thighs, adorned with dainty hair ornaments shaped like blue and white petals. Tiny bell-shaped charms tinkled quietly at the tips, a whimsical counterpoint to her fearful trembling. Naruto also couldn't help but notice her attire. A white mini dress with a bold blue ribbon looped around her neck, under her generous bust, and around her slender arms. She wore white gloves that reached past her wrists, and on her feet bare skin meeting the cold alley floor. A goddess. He remembered hearing that gods sometimes took mortal form, and this girl's presence exuded a certain aura. "Thank you," she repeated, voice shaking. "I'm so grateful you arrived." "Don't worry about it," Naruto said gently. "My name's Naruto. I'm new around here." She swallowed, trying to regain composure. Despite her small stature, her chest seemed notably large, accentuated by the tight ribbon. It was no wonder unscrupulous types threw around nicknames like Loli Big Boobs, though Naruto found such jeers crude. Right now, the only thing he cared about was that she'd been cornered. "My name is Hestia," she managed, pressing a hand to her racing heart. "I'm a goddess." Naruto blinked in surprise. Even in the gloom, Hestia's blue eyes shone with earnestness that belied her earlier fright. "So you're one of the deities people keep talking about," he said. "Are you hurt anywhere?" She shook her head. "No, I'm fine. Those men just wanted my Valis." A faint blush crept across her cheeks. "I was trying to gather enough money to get by. I don't have a proper home or familia yet." The flicker of sorrow dimmed her eyes. "Most people want to join powerful, well-known familias. A nobody goddess like me doesn't stand a chance." She lowered her gaze. "I'm living in an abandoned church at the edge of town. It's all I can afford." Naruto took a slow breath. He knew what it felt like to be overlooked. In his old village, he'd been a pariah. Nobody believed in him until he fought tooth and nail for recognition. This goddess, dwarfed by other deities, radiated an earnestness he found instantly endearing. "Look," he said, voice quiet, "I don't have a place to stay either. And, to be honest, I'm interested in this fauna thing I keep hearing about. Maybe we can help each other." Her eyes widened. For a moment, her expression glowed with hope, but then she bit her lip. You join my familia." Naruto scratched the back of his neck, a lopsided grin forming. "I'm not exactly adventurer material right now, but I need a fresh start. And you look like you need someone to watch your back, too. I figure this might be fate." Tears of relief glossed her eyes. Without warning, she lunged forward, hugging him around the waist. Naruto reeled, cheeks warming at the feeling of her soft hair and slight frame. "Thank you," Hestia whispered. "Truly thank you." He patted her head gently, mindful of the bell accessories. "Let's get you somewhere safe, okay?" 10 minutes later, Naruto followed Hestia through a tangle of deserted streets until they reached a dilapidated old church. The roof sagged. Several windows were boarded. Yet the place had a forlorn charm under the moonlight. "This is where I've been staying," Hestia murmured as she led him inside. The pews were broken, and dust coated the floor. Farther in, she revealed a hidden door that led down stone steps into a cramped undercroft. It was sparsely furnished, a rickety table, a small pallet for sleeping, and a single lantern. "It's not much," she admitted, fidgeting. Her hair ribbons and bells swayed with her nervous energy. But it's home for now. Naruto glanced around, then flashed a grin. I've slept in worse. A shy smile touched her lips before she squared her shoulders, turning to face him. Naruto, if you really want to join my familia, I can give you my fauna right away. That is if you're sure. He didn't hesitate. I'm sure. That was how Naruto ended up lying face down on the thin pallet while Hestia gently pinned his tattered shirt up and pricked her finger with a small needle. She let a drop of her divine blood fall onto his bare back. A sudden, searing warmth flooded Naruto's body. It reminded him of the strongest chakra rushes he used to experience, yet also felt entirely new, less violent, more hopeful. He gasped, sweat beading on his forehead. Faint blue symbols glowed across his skin, shifting and rearranging themselves in patterns only Hestia's eyes could interpret. Finally, the light faded. Hestia peered down at the inscription, her cheeks flushed with excitement. We did it. She said, voice trembling. Your stats have formed, and oh. You have a rare skill, something about evolution. Naruto sat up, dizzy from the aftereffects. Evolution. She nodded, reading from the luminous runes before they sank into his back. It mentions you can consume essence or magic stones to develop traits and gifts. I've never seen something like it. Her eyes sparkled with curiosity and delight. Naruto, this could be amazing. He didn't fully grasp it, but her excitement was contagious. Then let's figure it out together. Her petite form practically bounced with enthusiasm, and for the first time, Naruto saw just how exuberant Hestia could be. Though she was small, her energy filled the entire room. Her hair ribbons fluttered as she moved, accentuating the lively glint in her eyes. 0. They shared a humble meal of bread and leftover stew. Naruto insisted on adding his fewer invalis to Hestia's pouch so they could buy something more substantial in the future. She beamed as they sat on a broken pew, shoulders nearly touching, talking about tomorrow's plans. I'll introduce you at the guild so you can officially register as an adventurer in my familia, she explained, tucking a stray lock of black hair behind one ear. The action made the bells on her twin tails jingle softly. We'll get you some cheap armor, maybe a halfway decent weapon. He couldn't help but grin. Sounds like a start. Hestia exhaled, a mix of relief and anticipation. I know we don't have much. But I promise you, once I set my heart on something, I'll do everything I can. Even if it means kneeling in front of a blacksmith for 3 days until they give in, she added with a playful wink. Naruto's grin widened. I can believe it. A flickering lantern light danced across her features, highlighting her small frame and bright eyes. Something about her made Naruto feel lighter, despite the weight of a new world on his shoulders. They turned in for the night, Naruto taking a corner near the stairs while Hestia arranged blankets on the pallet. The last thing he saw as he drifted off was the small goddess's silhouette framed against the lantern glow, the gentle curve of her arms around her knees, and the quiet hum of a lullaby in her throat. For once, Naruto slept without the haunting dreams of his past life. The rickety walls of that abandoned church tucked in the far reaches of Arario felt more like home than he'd known in a long time. He couldn't say what trials lay ahead in the dungeon, nor how this bond with Hestia would shape his future. But as dawn arrived, casting the first rays of sunlight through the broken windows, a flicker of hope pulsed in his chest. Naruto stretched on his makeshift bedding, feeling the dull ache in his arms from the previous day's dungeon dive. His body still moved with muscle memory, with the traces of his once endless reserves were still out of his reach. At first, he felt like a fledgling academy student, but now the rich energy was more reminiscent of his early genin days. Had the awakening awoken his dormant power? Even so, that small taste of combat had reignited the fire in his heart. I can still protect people, he thought, rising to his feet. And Hestia's counting on me. He turned to see his goddess curled up on the pallet a few feet away, the ends of her twin tails draping over her shoulders. A faint mumble escaped her lips as she dreamed perhaps about turning this derelict church into a grand headquarters for their new familia. Morning, Hestia murmured, rubbing her eyes. She sat up, stifling a yawn. The white mini dress she wore was slightly wrinkled from sleep, but she still radiated a gentle charm. Naruto smiled. Ready to visit the guild? Her eyes lit up, a mixture of excitement and nerves. Yes. She exclaimed. I mean, we're a proper familia now, and you're my first official child. We need to register, talk to the receptionist about your progress, all of it. Naruto nodded. And maybe learn more about the dungeon, the floors, the best time for a newbie like me to go. Plus, we want to avoid stepping on the toes of more established familia, right? Hestia puffed out her chest, which further drew attention to her ample bosom. I'm not afraid of them, she said, though her cheeks colored slightly. But yes, we should be careful. We don't want to make enemies. Especially when it's just the two of us. Her earnest bravado made Naruto chuckle. He ruffled her hair gently, though mindful of the small bell ornaments. Let's eat first, he said, producing a couple of small bread rolls he'd purchased with leftover valis from the previous evening. They were a bit hard, but neither he nor Hestia complained. When they finished the meager meal, Hestia grabbed a small pouch of coins from the table. "This is all we have," she admitted, eyes downcast for a moment. "But we'll make it work." Naruto slung a cheap second-hand sword over his shoulder, a simple steel blade that had seen better days. "Let's do this," he said, grin unwavering. "Guild first, then maybe we can snag a decent quest or find a better path in the dungeon." They stepped out into Arario's bustling streets, the early morning crowd already thick with adventurers and townsfolk. The sweet smell of freshly baked pastries mingled with the sharper scent of the forge fires coming from the blacksmith district. Hestia kept close to Naruto, partly to avoid being jostled by the taller pedestrians. Though the pair walked among gods and mortals, nobody paid them much mind. The large familia banners that sometimes graced the main road's emblems of Loki familia, Ganesha familia, or Freya familia barely registered to passers-by accustomed to the city's busy routine. Hestia's status as a lesser-known deity meant no one recognized her on sight. But Naruto felt only gratitude for the anonymity. Less pressure, he told himself. We can figure out what we're doing without a spotlight on us. Soon, the grand building of the guild came into view, flanked by tall pillars and inscribed with runes. Adventurers streamed in and out, some carrying sacks of monster stones to exchange, others sporting fresh wounds or battered armor. The swirl of activity made the place feel simultaneously official and chaotic. Hestia visibly tensed. "I haven't come here much," she admitted softly. "Gods usually register their familias with the guild, but I was sort of avoiding it because, well." Naruto gently touched her arm. "It's okay," he said. "We're here now, right?" She mustered a determined nod. Together, they walked up the wide steps to the entrance. The polished floors inside gleamed under high windows, and the hum of voices echoed throughout the vast hall. Rows of reception counters lined one side, each manned by an employee in the crisp blue and white guild uniform. The question was, which receptionist to approach? "Wait here," Hestia whispered, scanning the counters. Some lines were packed with rowdy adventurers waiting to trade in their monster stones for Valis. Others were quieter, manned by stern-looking clerks seemingly immersed in paperwork. They eventually joined a relatively shorter queue at a booth staffed by a woman with long red hair, the tips reaching past her waist. She wore the classic guild uniform with neat precision, a tight vest over a white shirt, and a serious expression that seemed to ward off any unnecessary chatter. The nameplate on the counter read, Rose Vanet. Rose was in the middle of conversing with a burly dwarf adventurer who seemed intent on convincing her of something. "Come on, Rose," he was saying, a flirtatious grin twisting his thick beard. "How about a drink after my next delve? I'll treat ya." Rose's face remained impassive, so neutral it was almost intimidating. "I've told you before, I don't date adventurers," she said, voice firm. "You'll be diving into the dungeon tomorrow, and the next day, and the next. Adventurers die all the time." The dwarf's face fell. "Aw, don't be like that." "Next," Rose cut him off, stamping a form. The dwarf grumbled but stepped aside, holding up his hands in mock surrender. Naruto watched the entire exchange, eyebrows raised. Hestia fidgeted by his side, clearing her throat politely. "Guess we're up," Naruto muttered. They stepped forward, and Rose's gaze flicked over them. If she was relieved to have a break from the dwarf's persistent flirting, she didn't show it. She merely arched a brow. "Name and familia." Hestia drew a breath. "Hestia familia," she said with as much poise as she could muster, though her voice still quivered slightly. "I'm the goddess, and this is my adventurer Naruto Uzumaki." Rose's steely eyes narrowed. "Hestia familia. I'm not familiar with it." She paused, flipping through some internal guild records on her desk. "So you're registering him officially?" "That's right," Hestia replied, a hint of pride creeping in. "We formed only recently." The receptionist studied Naruto, then. He offered a friendly grin, though her chilly demeanor didn't thaw. "You look competent," she said at last, in a businesslike tone. "But I can't recall seeing you around the guild." "I came in once to get my license card updated," Naruto explained, remembering the hurried process a few days prior. "That was with another clerk." Rose nodded, punching data into a ledger. "Right. Name. Naruto Uzumaki, level. Still 1, correct?" Naruto affirmed it. Behind them, a small line was forming, but Rose didn't rush. She typed carefully, verifying every piece of information. Her eyes darted toward the fauna insignia on Naruto's exposed upper arm. He'd rolled up his sleeves in the morning heat. When she finished, she glanced at Hestia. "Your deity status means you're the familia's sole authority, but the guild still needs more data like your home location, the number of official members, financial standing, all that." At the mention of financial standing, Hestia stiffened. We're living in an abandoned church." Naruto quickly added, "We'll fix it up eventually. Right now, we're just short on Valis." Rose nodded curtly, but something about her measured gaze suggested she wasn't judging them for being poor. Instead, her expression was reminiscent of resignation. "Another pair of starry-eyed newbies," that look seemed to say. All right, she continued, passing them a couple of forms. List your lodging, contact information, next of kin. She paused, scanning Naruto's face. Do you have any known family in Arario or beyond? The pang shot through him. No, he said quietly. No one. Rose's lips pressed into a thin line. She made a quick note. Goddess Hestia, you are effectively his emergency contact. In the event she hesitated. In the event something goes wrong in the dungeon, you'd be notified first. Hestia swallowed, nodding. Naruto felt a faint chill at the implication. Rose had probably uttered those words countless times to countless adventurers, some of whom hadn't come back. After they filled out the forms, Rose stamped them with the guild's official seal. Now you're fully registered as Hestia Familia. You're free to delve into the dungeon as you wish. However, she eyed Naruto sternly. If you push too deep too fast, you'll end up another statistic. Focus on leveling up gradually. We don't need more tragedies. Naruto dipped his head in respect. Thank you. I'll keep that in mind. Hestia offered a bright smile. Thanks for your time, Miss Rose. Rose glanced at her, a flicker of something soft beneath the tough exterior. We're done here, she said crisply, moving to wave them off. Then, almost as an afterthought, she added, if you have questions about the upper floors, the save points, or resource collection, come back. The guild is here to help within reason. They stepped away from the counter, forms in hand, letting the next adventurer approach. For a moment, Naruto and Hestia found themselves in an awkward hush, each pondering Rose's words. That was Hestia began, intense. Naruto nodded, recalling the faint sadness hidden under Rose's professionalism. She's clearly strict, he said, but I guess that's her job. Probably lost a lot of adventurers under her watch. Hestia pursed her lips. I heard rumors of a tough receptionist named Rose. People say she's had many suitors, but turns them all down because she doesn't want to get attached to someone who might die in the dungeon. Naruto exhaled. It's a brutal logic, but I get it. The dungeon claims lives daily. Feeling the weight of that reality, they lingered near a large notice board that listed available guild quests, requests for rare herbs on certain dungeon floors, or bounties for subjugating specific monster threats. Hestia scanned the parchment postings. Most of these are for level 2 or 3 adventurers, she said, sighing. Way beyond our current means. Naruto's gaze settled on a simpler quest. Collect bronze rabbit pelts on the 2nd floor, it read. The reward was modest, but it was the only one labeled as recommended for beginners. This might be something, he said, pointing to it. Before Hestia could reply, a battered group of adventurers shuffled into the guild hall behind them, one limping with a bloodied leg. A guild clerk hurried over to help, directing them toward an in-house medical station. The scene tugged at Naruto's heart, more evidence of the dungeon's unforgiving nature. All right, Hestia said, hooking her arm through Naruto's. We have our quest. Let's take it easy, okay? Sure, Naruto agreed. Let's check with Rose first, see if we need to file any paperwork for that quest. They returned to Rose's counter, waiting patiently until she finished stamping a document for another adventure. When she spotted them, an eyebrow arched. Yes. Naruto held out the quest parchment. We'd like to do this one. Collecting bronze rabbit pelts on the 2nd floor. Rose took it, giving it a cursory glance. It's a standard quest. No advanced paperwork required. Just bring the items to the exchange once you're done. Hestia ventured a small smile. Thank you. We'll do our best. To their surprise, Rose sighed and looked them over a second time. She lowered her voice so the other waiting adventurers wouldn't overhear. Listen, new adventurers sometimes think 2nd floor is no big deal, but bronze rabbits are quick. Their claws can still tear flesh if you're careless. Naruto's grin softened. Thanks for the warning. The red-haired receptionist nodded curtly, placing the parchment aside. Report back if you manage it. And don't push yourselves. By mid-morning, Naruto and Hestia arrived at the grand entrance to the dungeon beneath Babel Tower. The wide-arched portal yawned before them, thronged by groups of adventurers, some returning triumphant, others just beginning their dives. Hestia looked at Naruto, eyes filled with both eagerness and worry. Be careful, she repeated for the 100th time, fidgeting with the bells in her twin tails. You've only explored the 1st floor, right? He patted the hilt of his sword. I'll start slow. Just enough to track down those bronze rabbits. If it gets too hairy, I'll come back. What about me, though? She asked, biting her lip. Should I wait for you up here, or? Naruto considered it. Some gods followed their children into the dungeon, though rarely beyond the first few floors. But Hestia was new to all of this, and Naruto suspected the depths would be too dangerous for someone without a fauna to boost their defenses. Stay here, he said gently, or maybe roam around the tower's 1st level. Keep safe. I'll be back soon. Her shoulders tensed, but she nodded. Okay. Just don't do anything reckless. He offered a mock salute. Reckless? Who, me? They shared a small laugh that eased the tension, then parted ways. Hestia lingered near a group of novices in the lobby, her eyes following Naruto as he descended the broad steps into the labyrinth's dim corridors. The dungeon's first floor was just as he remembered. Cramped corridors, faintly glowing crystals in the walls, and clusters of goblins and kobolds. Naruto navigated with relative ease, dispatching a few stray goblins using the sword. Each monster dissolved into ash upon death, leaving behind a small magic stone or item drop. After about half an hour, he found the stairway leading down to the second floor, a place he hadn't yet ventured. His pulse quickened as he descended. The air felt heavier, as if the dungeon itself were aware of his presence. Torches flickered in recesses carved out by older expeditions, but many corners lay in shadow. Before long, a trio of high-pitched squeals echoed in the corridor. Naruto pressed himself against a wall, peering around. Ahead, he spotted the creatures he'd come for. Bronze rabbits, each about the size of a small dog, their fur glimmering faintly in the torchlight. Their eyes were sharp and alert, their oversized ears twitching every time a drop of water fell from the ceiling. They do look fast, he thought, recalling Rose's warning. He'd have to be cautious. He edged closer, careful not to spook them. But the nearest rabbit swiveled its ears and locked eyes with him. Its nose twitched, and in a heartbeat, the entire group scattered, hopping away with a startling burst of speed. "Hey!" Naruto shouted instinctively, sprinting after them. Their quest required collecting the creatures' pelts, which he assumed meant subduing them before the rabbits could disappear into a hidden warren. The chase led him through winding passages. Twice, he nearly lost sight of the rabbits, only to catch a glimpse of bronze fur slipping around a corner. His footsteps pounded against the stone floor, each breath echoing in the subterranean hush. Finally, he managed to corner one. The rabbit hissed an odd, high-pitched sound, then lunged with its front claws. Naruto dodged, the tips of the claws raking sparks off the stone wall. Faster than he expected. Rose wasn't kidding. He swung the flat of his blade toward the rabbit's flank, aiming to stun rather than simply slice. The creature leaped nimbly, but the edge of Naruto's sword clipped its hind leg. It squealed, falling to the ground in a tumble of fur. "I'm sorry," Naruto murmured, a pang of guilt in his chest. He remembered how he used to hate harming living creatures back in the shinobi world, yet the dungeon's monsters were an ongoing threat. He steeled himself, delivering a swift coup de grace. The body dissolved like any other monster, leaving behind a pelt with a metallic sheen. He exhaled shakily, picking up the pelt. The color shimmered in the torchlight, a testament to the creature's name. "I'll need at least 3 or 4 to complete the quest." Wiping sweat from his brow, Naruto pressed on. Another half hour of searching yielded 2 more bronze rabbits, each chase just as tense as the first. By then, he was winded and the illusions of easy prey had vanished. Still, he had enough. Before climbing back out, Naruto decided to face a couple more goblins on the second floor, hoping for more magic stones to earn extra coin. He felt a flare of pride at how well he was handling himself. Maybe tomorrow, I can push a bit deeper. But then, one of the goblins managed to blindside him, a jagged blade grazing his forearm. Pain shot through him. He hissed, stepping back, ignoring the blood seeping under his shirt. "Don't get cocky." He dispatched the goblin with an angry slash, retrieving its stone, and decided that was enough for one day. Clutching his prize of bronze rabbit pelts and a stinging cut on his forearm, Naruto retraced his steps. The dungeon's labyrinth twisted, but he followed the general slope upward until he finally ascended to the first floor and then out into the light. Hestia was there, pacing near a colonnade. The second she saw him, she dashed over. "Naruto." "Hey," he said, sweat-soaked but smiling. "Got the pelts." Her eyes flicked to his bleeding arm, and her face went pale. "You're hurt." "Just a scratch." Goblin got lucky. She pouted, rummaging in her pouch for a cheap healing potion. "Take this," she insisted, pressing the small vial into his hand. He drank it, feeling the soothing sensation spread through the wound. He rolled his shoulder, grateful for even the modest relief the potion offered. "Thank you," he breathed. "Let's head back to the guild." The walk to the guild was shorter this time, but each step felt heavier for Naruto. Dungeon fatigue combined with a nagging worry about how meager the quest reward might be. Yet, Hestia accompanied him with unwavering optimism, occasionally sneaking glances to confirm he was indeed okay. They arrived at the bustling hall, and this time approached the exchange counters, where adventurers traded monster drops for Valis. Hestia insisted on joining him in line, eyes brimming with curious excitement at all the different trades occurring around them. When their turn came, a tired-looking guild clerk weighed the bronze rabbit pelts, referencing a ledger for the going rate. 3 bronze rabbit pelts, plus a bonus for second-floor monsters. She paused, calculating. Comes to 30 Valis total. Hestia's expression lit up. "That's more than I expected." Naruto, too, felt relief. Maybe it wasn't a fortune by Aurario standards, but it was enough to cover a couple days' worth of food and basic supplies. They headed over to Rose's station next, partly to confirm completion of the quest. She acknowledged them with that same cool demeanor. "So, you got the pelts." Naruto nodded, holding out the receipt the other clerk had provided. "Took me some time, but we did." Rose's gaze traveled to the blood-stained tear on Naruto's shirt sleeve. Her lips thinned. "Goblin?" she asked. He grimaced. "Yeah, second floor variety." A faint flicker of concern crossed Rose's face, gone almost as quickly as it appeared. "Congratulations on completing your quest." She stamped his official card, marking the successful job. Then her eyes flicked to Hestia. "Take better care of him. You're the goddess, after all." Hestia nodded fervently. "I will. I just gave him a potion." "That's not what I mean," Rose interjected, gaze cutting like a blade. "Adventurers die in droves. If you want him to survive, push him to train, to upgrade gear, to find a reliable party. Otherwise, you'll be paying funeral costs sooner or later." The harshness of her words caught Naruto off guard, but he reminded himself that Rose was like this for a reason. Her job demanded a certain detachment, especially after witnessing countless tragedies. Hestia swallowed. "I understand," she said, quieter now. "I'll do everything I can to make sure Naruto isn't alone." Rose nodded curtly, flipping through more forms. "That'll be all. Next." They stepped away, letting the next adventurer approach. Once they were out of earshot, Hestia let out a trembling breath. "She's so direct." Naruto put a comforting hand on her shoulder. "She's not wrong," he admitted. "We do need better equipment and maybe some allies. We can't handle everything alone." Hestia set her jaw. "Then let's save our Valis. We'll get you better armor soon, and maybe we can find a support or a fellow fighter. You've been on your own in the dungeon for too long." Naruto nodded. "Sounds like a plan." By the time they returned to the church, the sun was setting, painting the broken stained glass windows in hues of orange and pink. Naruto set his sword aside and sank onto a rickety bench. Hestia rummaged for a simple dinner, some fresh bread, a bit of cheese, and a handful of fruit purchased earlier. They ate quietly, each lost in thought. Naruto kept recalling Rose's stark words. "Otherwise, you'll be paying funeral costs sooner or later." He knew from his past life how quickly a seemingly mundane mission could turn fatal. Halfway through the meal, Hestia asked, "Do you think we should ask around for possible party members? Maybe a support? Or a mage?" He considered. "Yeah. But we need to find someone who shares our ideals. I don't want a reckless ally who'll drag us into deeper floors we're not ready for." She nodded, swirling a piece of fruit around her bowl. "There might be other novices in Arario who can't join big familias. If we can convince them we're worth it." Naruto smiled. "We will be. With your determination, we can accomplish anything." That brought a light blush to Hestia's cheeks, and she cleared her throat. "We, also need to check on your fauna later. See if your stats have gone up from the day's efforts." "Sure," Naruto said, rolling his stiff shoulder. "Think we can afford a new shirt for me first?" She giggled, eyes darting to the tear in his sleeve. "Yes, definitely. We can't have you walking around with that constant reminder of your battle scars." The conversation meandered, drifting towards small, hopeful plans for the future, maybe repairing the church's roof or setting up a real training area behind the altar. Eventually, the conversation touched on Rose again. "She must have lost so many adventurers she was assigned to," Hestia murmured. "I wonder if that's why she's so cold." Naruto shrugged. "Can't really blame her for being guarded. The dungeon isn't kind." Hestia's gaze turned somber. "I'll do everything I can," she repeated, more to herself than to him. Naruto recognized that determined spark. The same flame that had led her to endure humiliating, desperate acts like begging on her knees for days if it meant saving someone dear to her. They finished dinner in companionable silence, the church's main hall lit only by a single lantern. Outside, the faint bustle of Arario at night drifted through the cracked windows. Naruto felt a sense of belonging here, despite the hardships. He had a goddess who cared deeply, and the stirrings of real progress. After they tidied up, Hestia produced her small fauna ritual kit. A needle, paper, and ink. Naruto lay face down on a scrap of blanket near the altar. He felt the cool air against his back as Hestia's hand hovered over him. "Just a drop," she whispered, pricking her finger. The goddess's blood glowed faintly, activating the fauna. Warmth spread across Naruto's skin like a ripple. He shivered as mystical energy shifted along his spine. Hestia's soft gasp told him something had changed. "Your stats went up a bit," she said. "Your agility, especially, and your strength by a small margin." She paused, reading carefully. "Your skill evolution is tracking more of those partial essences. You consumed more kobold energy, plus the bronze rabbit trace you picked up. Nothing's fully integrated yet, but it's growing." Naruto sat up, pulling his shirt back down. "So eventually I might gain aspects from the bronze rabbits. Like speed or jumping ability." She shrugged, clearly uncertain. "It's possible. There's a note that you're starting to refine bronze rabbit aspect, minor. No guarantee how it'll manifest, but if you keep encountering them, maybe it'll become more." He pondered this new skill. The notion of absorbing pieces of monster essence seemed bizarre, but in a world without chakra, it might be the key to forging unique power. We'll keep an eye on it, he decided, rolling his shoulders. No rush. Hestia agreed, though he could see the excitement lurking behind her thoughtful gaze. After a moment, she gently touched his newly healed forearm. Promise me tomorrow you'll slow down if you feel overwhelmed. He smiled, placing a hand over hers. I promise. Early the next day, they headed back to the guild. Hestia insisted on verifying more newbie-friendly quests before Naruto ventured underground again. They had a bit of money now, enough to purchase at least a padded arm guard and a fresh shirt. Outside the guild, they spotted a small crowd gathered near the doors. Hushed voices carried alarm. Naruto recognized the battered dwarf from yesterday, who had been pestering Rose for a date. The dwarf's face was a shen. I don't know what to do, he muttered, fists trembling at his sides. Hestia's curiosity piqued. What happened? Another adventurer, a tall elf woman with finely braided hair, lowered her voice. One of the dwarf's party members was killed in a dungeon last night. He just got the news. Naruto's breath caught. It was one thing to hear about casualties, but another to witness the raw fallout. A guild clerk stood beside the dwarf, patting his shoulder awkwardly. There's nothing you could have done, the clerk said gently. Her body was lost on the lower floors. I'm sorry. Hestia's expression twisted in sympathy. She clutched Naruto's arm as if seeking reassurance that he was still here. He squeezed her hand back. A pang of worry seared his heart. We just started, but every day could be our last if we're not careful. They made their way inside. Rose Vanet was behind her usual counter, stamping forms with grim efficiency. Her eyes flicked to the dwarf near the entrance, and though her face remained composed, Naruto caught a fleeting shadow of pain in her expression. No doubt she recognized him. She had turned down the dwarf's invitation, after all, possibly guessing the risk of heartbreak. Naruto and Hestia approached once more, their moods dampened by the tragedy. Rose finished her stamping, glancing up. You again, she said, not unkindly. Something else you need. Hestia cleared her throat. We wanted to check if there are more low-level quests. And maybe ask about recommended gear shops. Rose leaned back, her red hair swaying. Gear shops. If you're on a tight budget, most novices go to the cheaper forges around West Main. They'll outfit you with second-hand armor. Naruto nodded. We can do that. The receptionist thumbed through a small index of requests. As for quests, there's one from an apothecary for certain mushrooms that grow on the third floor. Another for collecting crystals from immobile slimes on the first floor, though that pay is minimal. Hestia perked up at the mention of mushrooms. Third floor might be too deep right now. Naruto gave her a confident smile. Maybe not. Let's keep it in mind. Rose handed them the details. The reward is 50 valis if you can bring back enough mushrooms. They're called silky caps, found near watery sections of the third floor. Just watch for lizardmen. Lizardmen? Naruto repeated, eyes narrowing. He hadn't encountered those yet. They're a bit tougher than goblins, Rose explained. They carry crude weapons and can coordinate attacks. If you're alone, be cautious. Hestia's earlier bravado waned, but Naruto still felt that spark of determination. We'll train a bit more on the second floor, then we'll see about those mushrooms. Thank you, Rose. Seeing that the conversation was nearly over, Naruto ventured to address the obvious sorrow gripping the guild hall. That dwarf out front, he said softly, his party member was killed, right? Rose's expression hardened, though sadness flickered in her eyes. Yes, she said bluntly, tapping her pen on the desk. They ventured to the 9th floor, encountered a pack of killer ants. She was stung and paralyzed. The rest of the party had to retreat, leaving her behind. Hestia inhaled sharply, tears threatening at the corners of her eyes. Naruto's jaw tightened. That's tragic. Yes, Rose finished, her tone edged with resignation. It happens more often than you'd think. That's the dungeon's reality. She paused, then spoke more softly. She was a sweet girl, used to bring me ridiculous love letters for her party's sake, bragging how they'd one day earn enough valis to retire. Now she's gone, and her family can't even retrieve her body for a proper funeral. The weight of her words settled heavily around them. Naruto felt the pit of his stomach churn, recalling how shinobi wars claimed lives daily. The difference here was that the dungeon was an ongoing hazard, forever spawning new monsters, never truly tamed. Rose sighed, closing her ledger. Take heed. Don't let that happen to you. And as for romantic confessions, well, I don't indulge them because I'm not prepared to love someone who might never come back. Hestia tried to speak, but the lump in her throat blocked her words. Naruto managed a soft nod. I understand, he said. Thank you for the warning, Rose. She waved them off. Go. Be careful. They exited, hearts heavy with the knowledge of death's looming presence. Outside, the dwarf had moved on, either to drown his sorrows or to pray to whatever deity might help him find closure. Hestia sniffled. Naruto, I'm so scared. What if? He turned, placing his hands firmly on her shoulders. "That won't happen," he said resolutely. "I've lost friends before. I know the pain of leaving someone behind. I won't let that happen again, not on my watch." Tears glittered in her eyes, but she nodded, letting out a shaky breath. "We'll be strong together, right?" He mustered a grin. "Always." The rest of the day was spent preparing for the possibility of tackling the third floor soon. They located a modest armory run by a retired adventurer named Gus, a stooped older man with a scar across his cheek. He sold them a pair of bracers and knee guards, both worn but serviceable, for a bargain price once he realized they were new, struggling folks. Naruto tested the fit, practicing a few swings. He felt marginally safer, even if the gear wasn't top-notch. Every bit of protection could mean the difference between life and death in the dungeon. Hestia, for her part, insisted they reserve some valis to buy potions as well. By the time they returned to the church, evening had fallen again, painting the sky in deep purples. They shared a quiet meal. Once more, Hestia performed the nightly Falna update, though Naruto hadn't dived that day, so the changes were minimal. They lingered by the altar afterward, Hestia's small form leaning against Naruto as they sat on the edge of a broken pew. Her usual spunk was tempered by the realities they'd witnessed at the guild. "I guess this is how it'll be from now on," she murmured. "Walking that tightrope between progress and risk." Naruto nodded, slipping an arm around her shoulders. "We just have to remain mindful. Work with the Falna, build our strength carefully, and find allies who share our convictions." Hestia looked up at him, her blue eyes reflecting the dim lamplight. "I'll always support you. No matter what." He gave her a crooked smile. "Same here, goddess." The week passed. Naruto spent most days on the second floor, gathering small monster stones and improving his reflexes. He occasionally encountered bronze rabbits again, absorbing fragments of their essence to feed his mysterious evolution skill. Hestia hovered near the dungeon's entrance each time, greeting him with relieved hugs whenever he emerged unscathed. They also scoured the notice boards for potential recruits. Not many novices were keen on joining an unknown familia with limited resources, but they had a few Nibbles adventurers who promised to think about it and return if they were interested. On the seventh day, Naruto braced himself for a deeper dive. It was time to try the third floor quest for silky cap mushrooms. With Hestia by his side, he approached the guild once more to confirm the job. Rose Fan it was, as usual, manning her station with professional detachment. When Naruto handed over the quest slip, she looked it over, then paused to give him a once-over. "You're going for the third floor mushrooms?" He nodded. "I feel ready. I've improved a bit since last time." Rose's gaze flicked briefly at Hestia, who offered a polite nod. "We purchased some better gear," the goddess explained. "Naruto has potions, bracers, a decent sword." The receptionist pressed her lips together. "All right. Just remember, you'll likely run into lizardmen. Don't let them surround you." She shuffled her papers, returning his slip. "May fortune favor you." Naruto blinked. That was the kindest well-wish she'd heard from her. "Thank you, Rose. We'll do our best." Rose dipped her head, though her crimson hair obscured her expression for a moment. Then she looked up, her voice low. "You seem more serious than most novices." "I can respect that." The faint warmth spread in Naruto's chest at the compliment. "We'll prove we're serious." With that, they left the guild. Outside, Hestia flashed him a grin. "She can be nice, in her own way, huh?" He laughed softly, tucking the quest slip into his pouch. "Yeah, looks like we're earning a bit of trust." That afternoon found Naruto carefully descending past the second floor's tunnels and into the gloom of the third floor. Flickering crystals provided minimal light and the walls dripped with moisture. A faint musty smell clung to the air. He clutched a small cloth bag meant for collecting mushrooms, courtesy of the guild. The instructions were clear. Find moist alcoves near water sources, pick only the fully grown silky caps, avoid trampling immature ones. The first half hour was uneventful, just a handful of goblins easy enough to dispatch. Naruto moved with measured caution, occasionally stopping to mark his path with a piece of chalk to ensure he wouldn't get lost. Then he reached a cavern that echoed with trickling water. A narrow stream cut across the stone floor and in its damp corners, he spotted clusters of mushrooms with slender white stems and wide, silken caps. Silky caps, he thought, relief flooding him. Carefully, he knelt to collect them, using the cloth bag to keep them intact. He'd gathered about half the required amount when a low growl reverberated behind him. Slowly, Naruto stood, turning to see three tall silhouettes skulking in the gloom. Lizardmen. Each one resembled a bipedal reptile, brandishing rusted blades. Their yellow eyes glowed with malice in the dungeon's half-light. "Don't let them surround you," Rose had advised. Right now, they formed a loose semicircle around him, tails flicking impatiently. Naruto brandished his sword, heart hammering. "Focus." With a hiss, one lizardman lunged. Naruto sidestepped, countering with a diagonal slash. Sparks flew as the reptile's own blade parried, but Naruto twisted, hooking the hilt beneath the monster's guard. He followed with a swift kick to its midsection. The lizardman stumbled, giving Naruto an opening to slash across its torso. Green-tinged blood splattered the stone. The other two lizardmen snarled in unison, rushing from opposite flanks. Naruto cursed under his breath, pivoting to intercept their blades. A clang echoed as steel met steel. He blocked one strike but felt the second monster's weapon slice across his bracer, denting the metal. Pain jolted up his forearm. He needed to break their formation. With a wild yell, Naruto lunged forward instead of retreating, slamming into one lizardman's chest. They tumbled, but Naruto forced the blade away from his throat, delivering a savage elbow to the creature's snout. It screeched, dissolving into a swirl of black dust once his sword found its heart. Only one remained, but Naruto's breathing was ragged and a stinging cut marred his left bicep. He tightened his grip on the sword. The lizardman circled, flicking its tail, hissing. "Come on," Naruto growled, ignoring the blood trickling down his arm. The monster feigned a thrust, then slashed low. Naruto jumped back, cursing the narrow space. He retaliated with a downward cleave, which the lizardman partially evaded. His blade bit into its shoulder, but missed a killing blow. The creature howled, staggering. Sensing its faltering stance, Naruto mustered a final burst of energy, stepping in with a quick combination of sword strikes. The lizardman collapsed, dissolving like the others, leaving behind a battered blade and a magic stone. Naruto slumped against the cavern wall, panting. That was close. He rummaged for a healing potion, gulping it down. The sting in his arm eased, though not completely. Adrenaline still surged in his veins, and his head spun. Yet he still needed more mushrooms. Gritting his teeth, Naruto pushed off the wall and carefully resumed picking the silky caps. Once he had enough, he retreated, mindful not to push his luck. He took the chalk-marked path back, inching past a few more roaming goblins, until daylight greeted him at the surface. Hestia stood near the entrance, anxiety etched into her features. When she saw him slightly injured but alive, she ran forward. "Thank the gods," she exclaimed, hugging him tight. "What happened?" He gave her a weary smile. "Lizardmen. 3 of them. But I got the mushrooms." She quickly fetched another potion for him. "You're so stubborn," she scolded gently, even as relief shimmered in her eyes. "Let's get you to the guild." Back at the guild's exchange, the same bored-looking clerk weighed the mushrooms. "All in good condition," she noted, handing over a small sack of Valis. 50, as promised. Hestia beamed. "That's our biggest payday yet." Naruto, still nursing his bruises, smiled tiredly. "It'll help a lot." They navigated toward Rose's station, though it wasn't an official requirement. Something compelled Naruto to show the tough receptionist that he'd succeeded without losing his life or the quest items. She was free, stamping another stack of papers, so they approached. Naruto set the cloth bag, now empty of mushrooms, on the counter. "We made it," he said simply. Rose glanced at the bag, then at the cuts on Naruto's arms and the fresh scuff on his bracer. "Seems you did." She scribbled a note on her ledger. "3rd floor. Lizardmen or war shadows?" "Lizardmen," Naruto answered. "A group of 3. She stilled for a moment, meeting his gaze. "Impressive for a novice." Hestia stepped forward, brimming with excitement. "Naruto's fauna is improving, too." Rose cut her off gently. "Good. But you still need to watch your back. The deeper you go, the more lethal the monsters become." She paused, exhaling softly. "I see too many adventurers get overconfident after a small success. Don't let that be you." Naruto offered a respectful nod. "I won't." Their eyes locked in mutual understanding. Rose knew the weight of loss, and Naruto was determined not to add to that burden. But the conversation concluded, Naruto and Hestia stepped aside, letting others approach the desk. "That's almost like encouragement," Naruto murmured as they walked away. Hestia giggled. "I think she respects you just a little. Maybe you'll be the first adventurer she doesn't mind acknowledging." Naruto's cheeks warmed. "I'm not trying to impress her. But if she sees I'm serious, maybe she'll trust that I won't just throw my life away." Hestia nodded, hooking an arm through his. "Come on, let's see about new armor. We can afford something slightly better now, maybe lighten your burdens." Naruto woke to the sound of Hestia's soft snores from across the cramped undercroft. The abandoned church had become a functional base of operations for their fledgling familia. The patchy roof and the lingering smell of mustiness, Naruto felt at home. And he was restless. Each sunrise only heightened his awareness that he needed to get stronger, faster. But simply delving day after day, taking on random quests, wasn't enough to propel him into the higher ranks. He already felt the gap between himself and the more established adventurers. Even some other level 1s seemed better equipped or more specialized. Yet, Naruto held a singular trump card. Evolution, his foulness skill that allowed him to absorb monster essences and potentially gain traits. So far, he'd integrated bits of bronze rabbit agility, lizardman tenacity, and even some partial goblin cunning. But these minor gains weren't game-changing yet. What if I could systematically farm the dungeon? He mused, eyes drifting to the battered iron sword lying next to his bedroll. Collect monster essences in bulk, refine them, push my Falna to its limits faster. The problem was how to do it safely and efficiently. Farming monsters blindly risked injury or worse. He sat up, gaze settling on Hestia's sleeping form. Her petite frame rose and fell gently under a worn blanket, twin tails splayed around her. As a goddess, she was brimming with unwavering faith in her children even if she only had one official child so far. Naruto wouldn't let that faith go to waste. An hour later, Naruto emerged into the church's main hall, finishing the last bite of stale bread he'd scrounged for breakfast. Hestia followed, yawning but looking eager to face another day. She asked him about his thoughts on new quests or gear upgrades. Instead, he said, "Hestia, I've been thinking. My skill, evolution, it works by absorbing monster essences. Right now, I do it passively, kill a few monsters, and maybe siphon a bit. But what if we turned it into a system?" Hestia's midnight blue eyes blinked. "A system?" He nodded. "I want to figure out which monsters yield the best aspects. For example, bronze rabbits gave me a tiny agility boost, but not enough to be revolutionary. Lizardmen offered some strength and a bit of weapon skill, but still minimal. Maybe there's a particular monster that, once integrated, could skyrocket my stats." Her face brightened, a spark of excitement. "You mean targeting certain floors where specific monsters spawn?" "Exactly. But I can't just stand in the open, waiting for them to come. We'd need a strategic approach, either set traps or find a safe vantage point to pick them off systematically." Naruto paused, mind whirling with possibilities. "If I can gather the essences in bulk, my Falna might integrate a full aspect more quickly. Imagine unlocking a major power spike." Hestia clapped her hands softly. "That's a great idea. But how do we do it without risking your life?" "That's the tricky part. I'll need the right gear, ranged options, maybe. Also, I should find a consistent, moderately challenging floor where we can handle the monsters without pushing too far. Then there's the question of resource management." He drew a breath. "Killing monsters also drops materials, which we can sell for Valis. But I want to do it on a scale that yields real profit." Hestia nodded thoughtfully. "We might talk to Rose or some other guild staff about which floors are known for stable monster spawns. Or maybe we ask around with experienced adventurers. But we must be careful not to reveal your skill's secret. Some might try to exploit it." Naruto's lips tightened. Sharing evolution with the wrong person could indeed be dangerous. "Let's keep the skill details vague," he agreed. "All we need is enough intel to pick the right floor and approach." Hestia looked determined. "Then let's head to the guild after breakfast. I'm sure Rose can spare a few pointers." 0. They arrived at the guild around mid-morning, finding it less crowded than usual. Many adventurers were already underground, meaning shorter lines. Rose Vanet was at her usual desk, long red hair neatly brushed, her stoic expression scanning through forms. She gave Naruto a small nod of recognition as he and Hestia approached. "What is it this time?" she asked, voice clipped but not unkind. Hestia mustered a polite smile. "We have some questions about dungeon spawns. Specifically, floors where a stable type of monster appears in groups or predictable patterns." Rose's gaze flicked between them, suspicion creeping in. "Why?" Naruto cleared his throat. "We want to, farm materials. Build up our fund and maybe hone my skills without diving too deep into the unknown. If there's a place we can repeatedly challenge monsters safely, that'd help." A short silence hung in the air, broken only by the scratch of a quill from a nearby clerk. Rose tapped a finger on the desk. "There's no such thing as safe in the dungeon," she said brusquely. "But some floors have less variation in monster types." She rummaged through a stack of references at her side. "The 5th floor is known for large packs of kobolds and occasional war shadows. Not ideal if you can't handle multiple foes. The 7th floor sees clusters of imps, but they can be tricky, lots of hit and run tactics. Then there's the 10th floor, where groups of frog shooters appear in consistent intervals." She stopped, scanning more data. "Also, the 10th floor has occasional infant dragons, though rare. You'd need to be cautious." Naruto perked up. "Frog shooters aren't too dangerous, right?" Rose pursed her lips. "They're mid-tier among the upper floors. If you're alone, they can overwhelm you with ranged acid shots. But if you're determined to farm, you could set up an ambush or a vantage point. They do spawn in predictable patterns, especially near water pools." Hestia bit her lip. "Is Naruto strong enough for the 10th floor, though? He's only recently tackled the 3rd floor." Rose's eyes narrowed. "He's improving, but leaping from 3rd to 10th is reckless. Usually you'd want to level up first or get a full party." However, she paused, exhaling. "I can't stop you if you're set on this. Just maybe find some support or a lower level partner to watch your back. You can't collect materials if you're dead. Naruto nodded. We'll be careful. And we appreciate the tip. Rose gave him a long look, perhaps torn between professional detachment and genuine concern. Then she merely nodded. Be sure to check in if you plan something risky. The guild likes to know who might not return. The words stung with their grim truth, but Naruto squared his shoulders. Right. 0. Back at the church, Naruto and Hestia sat at their makeshift table, an old crate stacked on broken pews. Spreading out a rough sketch of the dungeon's upper 10 floors, they circled the 10th floor. Frog shooters, Hestia read from her notes, they can spit acid, strong enough to corrode basic armor if you let them keep hitting you. They move in small packs. Naruto rubbed his chin. They might be perfect for repeated farming, multiple spawns, consistent intervals. If I can find a choke pointer advantage, I could pick them off. Then, I can collect the magic stones and materials, plus absorb their essences for evolution. Hestia tapped the paper. But how do you avoid the acid? Simple sword fighting might get you hurt if they keep firing from a distance. Naruto smiled. I was thinking of picking up a basic crossbow. With a ranged weapon, I can engage from a distance. Once I thin their numbers, I move in for kills. If they get too close, I revert to my sword or stay behind partial cover. The goal is to keep them at bay. She considered that, nodding slowly. And if you master frog shooter essence, you might get some sort of acid resistance or ranged ability yourself. Possibly, he said, excitement rising. And that synergy might combine with aspects from lizardmen or other creatures I've partially absorbed. If I unlock a unique evolution, it could be huge for my combat potential. Hestia's eyes sparkled. Then let's do it. We'll gather enough phallus for a crossbow, some bolts, maybe a shield. We have a little left from selling mushrooms and lizardman materials. That should be enough for basic gear. I also want to invest in potions, Naruto added. If the acid hits me, I'll need immediate healing. She nodded. Agreed. I'll come with you to the shops. Let's find decent deals and get started. The plan was set. They would gear up, head to the 10th floor, and attempt to systematically farm frog shooters. The next morning, they navigated Arario's bustling commercial district. Blacksmith stalls lined the main roads, forging noises clamoring against a murmur of haggling adventurers. Armored figures trotted around with newly minted blades or battered gear needing repairs. They stopped at a small weapons shop run by a paunchy man named Beryl. He gave them a critical once-over. Looking for a crossbow, eh? I got a few second-hand ones for novices. He presented an array of crossbows ranging from battered to half-decent. Naruto tested the draw weight, the trigger mechanism, settling on a mid-range model. It wasn't fancy, but it was sturdy enough. Along with it, he bought 2 quivers of bolts. I can't go all out on cost, Naruto muttered, wincing at the total. I still need a shield and potions. Beryl nodded, rummaging behind the counter. Got a small buckler here, wood reinforced with iron. Light enough not to slow your draw, sturdy enough to deflect minor hits. They struck a bargain, leaving Naruto with just enough phallus for potions. Hestia helped him carry the gear in a rucksack. The goddess's excitement was palpable. This is the most advanced kit we've had yet, she said, beaming. Even if it's secondhand, it shows we're growing. Naruto smiled back. We'll repay the cost with our new farming approach. They ended the morning at an apothecary stall to purchase half a dozen mid-grade healing potions and a single anti-acid salve. The salve was expensive, but the apothecary assured them it could neutralize mild dungeon acids. Better safe than sorry, Hestia declared. By midday, they returned to the church to finalize preparations. Naruto donned a simple leather chest plate, an upgrade from his old cloth vest, plus the new buckler strapped to his left forearm. The crossbow hung across his back, sword sheathed at his hip. He felt slightly weighed down, but the sense of readiness outweighed the discomfort. Hestia checked the potions in the pack, ensuring everything was secure. You sure you don't want me to come with you? She asked, anxiety undercutting her determined expression. Naruto shook his head gently. It's the 10th floor, Hestia. Without Falna, you'd be in danger. Let me do this alone for now. I promise I'll retreat if things get too hairy. She stared at him, then exhaled. All right. Just come back safe. He held out a fist. We got this, goddess. She grinned, tapping his fist with her own. Yes, we do. 0. The journey through the upper floors felt longer than usual with the added weight of gear. Naruto paced himself, clearing minor threats methodically. By the time he reached the 8th floor, he'd used 2 bolts on random mobs just to test the crossbow. It worked decently, though reload was slower than he liked. He could manage with practice. Around him, other adventurers roamed in small parties. He spotted a few novices who recognized him from the guild, offering polite nods. Some gave him curious glances at the crossbow, uncommon among brand new adventurers. Naruto remained focused, pressing onward. Finally, at the transition to the 10th floor, he paused to drink water and gather his thoughts. This is it, he told himself. The real test. Let's do this smart. The air felt cooler here, musty with an undertone of dampness. Dim crystals glowed sporadically, and the distant croaks of unseen creatures hinted at watery sections. Frog shooters were close. He moved carefully, crossbow loaded. He soon spotted a wide corridor sloping downward, shimmering with shallow pools on either side. Perfect breeding ground for frog shooters. Time to find a vantage. Naruto climbed onto a small rocky outcrop near the corridor's entrance, scanning the gloom. Sure enough, a cluster of 4 frog-like monsters waddled into view, each sporting a bulging throat sac that shimmered with acidic fluid. They spotted him almost instantly, croaking in alarm. He fired the crossbow at the nearest one. The bolt thudded into its slimy torso, prompting an ear-splitting screech. Acid splashed from its mouth, but it fell short, sizzling on the ground below Naruto's vantage point. The second frog shooter hopped forward, cheeks bulging. Naruto quickly reloaded, heart hammering. Another shot. This time, the bolt clipped a rocky protrusion. The monster spat a glob of acid that splashed dangerously close. He raised his buckler, flinching as droplets hissed against the wood rim. This is risky. But he was safer here than on level ground. 3 more bolts and 2 more acid dodges later, he downed all 4. Their bodies dissolved, leaving behind magic stones and occasional slime-laden fragments. Naruto hopped down, carefully harvesting each stone. He also focused on his Felna's evolution, pressing a hand to the lingering essence. A faint ripple of energy trickled into him. I'll need more than 4 to see real progress, he thought. So he pressed deeper, scanning for more spawns. As he advanced, the corridor opened into a large chamber dotted with pools. He noticed an elevated ridge to the left, from which he could see the entire room. Perfect vantage, he murmured, climbing up quietly. From this higher ledge, he saw scattered frog shooters across the chamber, some alone, some in pairs. If I can lure them together, I can pick them off. He fumbled with his belt, pulling out a rope. Tying a small chunk of dried meat from his provisions, he tossed it near the center pool. Not sure if this'll work, but let's see if they take the bait. A few minutes passed. The rancid smell of the meat must have piqued at least one frog's interest. Slowly, a small group hopped closer, croaking. Naruto took aim, breathing steady. 1 bolt each, hopefully. He squeezed the trigger. A direct hit to the first frog's flank, sending it flailing. The others belched acid in alarm, but Naruto was out of range. Another bolt flew, striking a second frog's head. The third spat acid blindly, but it splattered on the chamber floor below him. By the time the dust settled, he'd used 5 bolts and downed 3 more frog shooters. He grinned, adrenaline surging. This is working. For the next hour, Naruto repeated the tactic. Occasionally, a war shadow or a stray kobold wandered in, but he managed to keep them at bay with quick crossbow shots or short sword skirmishes. The vantage point gave him immense advantage. Each time a frog shooter fell, he hopped down carefully to collect the magic stones and to focus on absorbing any leftover essence. Eventually, fatigue gnawed him. His shoulders ached from reloading, and the tension of constant alertness weighed heavily. He'd used half his bolts, but had gathered a small pile of stones. Time to call it a day, he decided. No point getting greedy. He turned to leave, stepping into the corridor and froze. A war shadow loomed, blocking his path. Its dark humanoid shape flickered, clawed hands twitching in anticipation. Naruto cursed under his breath. He'd scouted no alternate route. Need to fight my way out. He raised a crossbow, but the war shadow moved with uncanny speed, lunging. He barely managed to roll aside, the buckler scraping the ground. The crossbow fired wildly, the bolt missing its mark. The monster's claws raked the air, forcing Naruto to drop the crossbow and switch to his sword. Blow after blow, they clashed in the dim corridor. The war shadow's scythe-like claws hammered his shield repeatedly, each impact jarring his arm. Naruto grit his teeth, pushing back. He found an opening, slashing across its torso. The monster hissed, black mist pouring from the wound. Another slash. Another. Finally, it crumpled into dust, leaving behind a thick dark magic stone that throbbed with intense energy. Panting, Naruto picked it up. A faint hum coursed through the stone. That's definitely stronger than the average war shadow drop. Could be valuable. He pressed it to his chest, feeling evolution stir. A swirl of intangible power grazed his senses, then he pocketed it. Now exhausted, Naruto staggered toward the upper floors. Enough for one day, he told himself. Can't wait to see how many Valis we make and how my Felna updates. When he finally emerged from Babel Tower's lower gate, Hestia nearly tackled him in a hug. Naruto. You look exhausted. Are you hurt? He shook his head, leaning into her supportive grip. Nothing major. I ran into a war shadow on the way out, but I'm okay. And guess what, I got a bunch of frog shooter drops. Her eyes widened with delight. Really? Let me see. She glanced around at the throng of adventurers. Let's head to the guild exchange first. They made their way inside, ignoring the swirling chatter. Naruto opened his pack, revealing nearly 24 magic stones of varying sizes. Many were from frog shooters, plus a handful from war shadows and stray kobolds. The clerk at the exchange whistled. That's quite the haul for a single run. 10th floor. Naruto nodded. Yes sir. The clerk weighed, tested, and tabulated. The final sum of Valis took Naruto by surprise. It was nearly 3 times what he usually earned on his best day at lower floors. Impressive, the clerk said, handing over a bulging pouch of coins. Beside him, Hesja's mouth fell open. Naruto, that's enough to pay off our gear costs and still have plenty left. He beamed, feeling a surge of pride. Then let's do it. We can invest in more potions, better armor, maybe even fix up the church a bit. Hesja nodded vigorously. Yes. Let's also see if Rose is free. I want her to know we survived the 10th floor. She might have other tips. They found Rose scanning a ledger, her expression characteristically neutral. When Naruto mentioned the day's success, she gave a single arch of her brow. You're not lying. You farmed frog shooters in bulk. He showed her the official exchange slip detailing the monster types and quantity. She took it, scanning with a critical eye. A faint grudging respect touched her features. Well. You set up some vantage point or something. Naruto shrugged. A rocky ledge, out of their acid range, then picked them off. Rose tapped the slip. It's no small feat for a single adventure. However, consider bringing a supporter next time. They can gather drops more efficiently, letting you focus on kills. Or a mage to cover your blind spots. Hesja brightened. A supporter might be a good idea. Right, Naruto. He smiled. It would help me secure more kills faster, too. That way, I can gather more essence. He caught himself. I mean gather more materials. He coughed, wary not to reveal the Falna's special function. Rose gave him a suspicious look but didn't pry. Well, you're definitely increasing your proficiency. Keep your head, though. One slip on the 10th floor and it's over. That war shadow you fought could have ended differently. The memory of that near miss made Naruto's spine tingle. I understand. She nodded, finalizing the paperwork. Guild's done here. Good luck with further hunts. Back at the church, excitement buzzed through Naruto. He laid out his new stash of Valis in the main hall while Hesja danced around in celebration. Look at this. She squealed, jingling a handful of coins. It's more than we've ever had. We can actually start saving for repairs and expand the familia soon. Naruto laughed, though his own thoughts drifted toward his Falna. Speaking of expansions, mind updating my stats tonight. I absorbed a lot of essence, especially from frog shooters. I can feel something stirring in me. Hesja's eyes sparkled. Of course. Let's see if your skill evolves further. They devoured a hearty dinner of fresh bread, soup, and roasted meat, the best meal they'd had in weeks, then retired to the undercroft. As per their nightly ritual, Naruto removed his shirt and lay face down on a spare blanket. Hesja pricked her finger, letting a drop of divine blood trickle onto the Falna inscription. The familiar warmth washed over him, but this time it felt stronger, more insistent. Hesja gasped softly, reading the glowing hieroglyphs that shimmered across his skin. Your stats, they've jumped more than usual. Strength, endurance, agility, dexterity all have risen significantly. Naruto felt a surge of satisfaction. Yes. She drew a shaky breath. But that's not all. Evolution, there's a note about frog shooter aspect, minor pending synergy with war shadow essence. Wait, there's more. Skill unlocked. Harvest crest. He turned his head to look at her, eyes wide. Harvest crest. Hesja's breath came quickly, enthralled. Yes, it says. A sub-skill that enhances resource collection from monsters, triggered by accumulated synergy from diverse essences. Allows the user to glean additional materials and doubles the yield of certain drops when finishing blows or dealt via essence infusion. Naruto blinked. So I can gather more items from kills. That's huge for Valis and resources. And synergy with war shadow essence, maybe it's how I got that sub-skill. Hesja nodded, awe coloring her face. It sounds like it. By mixing frog shooter and war shadow aspects, you triggered a new branch of evolution. This is incredible. Adventurers usually rely on skills or development abilities that appear with each level up, but yours is evolving now, all thanks to your unique Falna. Naruto slowly sat up, mind racing. This means if I keep farming, not only do my stats rise from constant battles, but I can also gather double the materials. That's double the profit, doubling our capital. We could do so much with that money. Not to mention, the synergy might yield other skills or resistances. Hesja clasped her hands. Just be careful. The dungeon is still dangerous. But yes, if we handle this properly, it might accelerate your growth beyond normal boundaries. He smiled at her. I'll be careful. Let's keep forging ahead. The next morning, Naruto woke early, mind already alive with ideas. He'd gleaned that if he executed a monster using the essence infusion he was slowly learning to harness, his new Harvest Crest sub-skill might trigger extra drops. He wasn't entirely sure how to do it, maybe channel some of the synergy from the partial aspects into the final attack. Hestia insisted they test the theory on lower floors first, so they spent the day on the 5th floor battling kobolds. Each fight, Naruto tried focusing on the swirling energies inside him. He felt faint flickers of bestial cunning from goblin essence, the nimble reflex of bronze rabbits, the reptilian might of lizardmen, and the newly forming amphibious nature from frog shooters. Visualizing it, he attempted to direct a portion of that intangible power into his sword at the final strike. His first attempts were clumsy, and the kobold died with little difference in drops. But after half a dozen tries, a surge of something thrummed through his blade and the kobold's body dissolved, leaving behind not just the standard magic stone, but also an extra fang. Naruto's eyes lit up, though the effort left him panting. He grinned, holding up the fang. "That's it. I used Harvest Crest." Hestia, watching from a safe distance, clapped her hands in delight. "Amazing. If you can refine that, we could double or triple your item yield daily." That same day, they collected enough fang and claw drops to earn a modest bonus at the exchange. Rose, noticing the extra items, gave Naruto a curious glance. "You're picking these monsters clean," she remarked, suspicious. "Almost like you have a knack for harvest." He shrugged sheepishly, offering a half-truth. "Just experimenting with finishing strikes." She didn't pry further, but he sensed she was becoming more aware of his unusual growth. All the more reason to keep evolution under wraps, he thought. A week later, the result was astounding. Naruto fine-tuned the technique on the 10th floor with frog shooters, sometimes netting double the normal amount of acid sacks, magic stones, and other materials. Selling them at the guild now earned them a consistent flow of valis. Hestia squealed in excitement each time they walked out with a heavy coin pouch. With more resources, Naruto upgraded from the buckler to a sturdier metal shield. He also purchased better crossbow bolts, ones with steel tips that could pierce tougher hides. They even hired a local carpenter to patch some of the church's worst roof leaks. A sense of progress pervaded the familia, small but tangible. Yet, Naruto wanted more. The synergy from war shadows and frog shooters was building, inching him closer to a major transformation, if only he could fully integrate it. "I can feel a threshold," he told Hestia one evening. "Like my Falna is on the brink of fusing these aspects and making a major breakthrough." She twirled a twin tail absent-mindedly, scanning the Falna readouts. "You're definitely close. The synergy line says imminent integration. Warfrog hybrid, minor. That's a weird name, but maybe you'll unlock acid-based attacks or stealth." He chuckled. "The name might be weird, but I'll take any advantage." Then his tone grew serious. "Hestia, I'm going to push deeper soon. Maybe the 11th or 12th floor. I need a chance to fight stronger variants to finalize the integration." Her eyes widened. "Naruto, that's a big jump." "I know, but we have the resources now, potions, better gear, Harvest Crest to gather materials for profit. If I keep sticking to the 10th floor, my progress will plateau." She chewed her lip. "Then let's do it carefully. Promise me you'll scout the floor first. And maybe, just maybe, ask around for a party member." Naruto sighed, remembering Rose's suggestion. "I guess I should. A supporter or a second fighter would reduce the risk. The question is, who join a new familia?" 2 days later, while checking the guild's notice board for partial party requests, Naruto overheard a heated argument near the reception counter. A tall, raven-haired girl wearing half-plate armor argued with a clerk about some quest that had gone wrong. "I told those idiots not to break formation. We lost half our loot," the girl fumed. The clerk tried calming her, but she stormed away, face sour, disappointment etched in every line. Naruto observed her from the corner of his eye. She wore a short sword at her hip, plus an elegant rapier strapped across her back. A purple scarf hung loosely around her neck. She looked formidable and frustrated. A moment later, she noticed him staring. "What?" she snapped, though not unkindly. He raised his hands in a gesture of peace. "Sorry, you seemed upset with your party. Are you looking for a new one?" She sighed, deflating slightly. "I might be. But I'm done dealing with incompetent novices who can't handle a few nasty monsters." Naruto tilted his head. "I'm a novice, but I've been farming the 10th floor and doing okay. I'm actually looking for someone to watch my back. Maybe we can help each other." Her eyes flicked over his gear, taking in the decent shield, steel bolts, and the confident set of his stance. "You're new, but you don't look incompetent," she admitted. "What familia?" "Hestia familia. It's small, just me and my goddess. But we're on the rise." She snorted. "Never heard of it. But okay, color me curious. My name's Sophia Rawl, level 1, specialized in mid-range sword combat. You?" "Name's Naruto Uzumaki, also level 1. I use a crossbow and sword, plus a unique fighting style. I'll be tackling the 11th or 12th floor soon." Sophia's brow furrowed. "That's ambitious for a new kid. But I guess if you've got the skill and gear, it's doable. I want half the loot we gather, though. That's non-negotiable. Naruto grinned, extending a hand. Deal. Let's talk details. 0. Within 3 days, Naruto and Sophia reached a working agreement. They would form a temporary party to tackle the 11th floor. She'd keep half of any item drops and stones, while Naruto hoped to glean more synergy from stronger monsters. Hestia, initially wary, warmed to Sophia upon seeing her disciplined approach. The girl also insisted on practicing formation moves with Naruto in the church's clearing out back, drilling how they'd protect each other from flanks. Finally, the day came. Naruto, Sophia, and a nervous Hestia stood before the Babel entrance. Hestia wrung her hands. Be safe, both of you. The 11th floor can spawn deadlier war shadows and even occasional orc variants. Sophia patted her sword. We'll be fine, Lady Hestia. Naruto offered a thumbs up. Trust us, goddess. We'll be back soon, hopefully loaded with materials. They descended methodically, passing through the 10th floor where Naruto had thrived. Sophia quickly proved her skill by dispatching a group of ambushing frog shooters with deft sword strokes, while Naruto picked off stragglers from range. They advanced to the 11th floor. The tunnels widened, the gloom thickened, and faint roars echoed from deeper corridors. Monsters came in varied forms, enhanced war shadows with sharper claws, packs of bigger kobolds, and occasional orc. The synergy from these stronger foes felt tantalizing to Naruto's fauna. Each time he delivered a finishing blow infused with Harvest Crest, the spoils multiplied. Sophia raised an eyebrow at how many extra drops they got. You're definitely doing something special. He shrugged, eyes scanning for the next threat. Just a technique I developed to strike weak points. Helps gather more loot. She gave him a sidelong look, clearly skeptical but not probing. Around midday, they found themselves in a larger cavern. Faint torch-like crystals glowed overhead, revealing battered columns and rubble from some ancient subterranean ruin. A heavy grunt reverberated across the chamber. An orc lumbered into view, 2 meters tall, pig-like snout, thick arms gripping a crude club. Sophia grinned fiercely, stepping forward. I've taken on orcs before. Let's do this. Naruto nodded, knocking a bolt in his crossbow. The orc roared, charging. Sophia darted in with surprising agility, weaving around the club's downward swing. She slashed at its flank, drawing a pained bellow. Naruto fired, the bolt burying into the orc's shoulder. Droplets of brackish blood spattered the ground. Enraged, the monster swung wildly, forcing them to jump back. It tried to pursue Sophia, but Naruto shot another bolt into its knee. Stumbling, the orc fell to one knee. Seizing the opening, Sophia's rapier thrust into its chest. Naruto channeled a flicker of his essence energy to deliver the final blow, Harvest Crest shimmering across his blade as he slashed downward. The orc collapsed into black dust, leaving behind a large magic stone and multiple teeth, a chunk of hide, and a small sack of what looked like fat lumps. Is that orc lard lumps? Sophia said, picking them up. It's rare. Usually only 1 or so drop. We got 4. She gaped at Naruto. That finishing strike of yours, my rapier, was the last physical hit, but you somehow overrode it with your slash. Naruto feigned surprise. Lucky synergy, I guess. Let's stash them. Orc lumps fetch a decent price. But inside, he marveled at Harvest Crest's potency. It was definitely giving them a bounty of extra materials. They pressed on, fending off war shadows and another orc. By late afternoon, they were flush with loot. Sophia shook her head in amazement. I've never seen drops like this in a single run. Hestia Familia, I misjudged you. A grudging respect laced her voice. Naruto just smiled. We're a small familia, but we have big dreams. They decided to turn back before exhaustion set in. As they retraced their steps to the 10th floor corridor, the ground rumbled. A deep roar echoed from an adjacent passage. Sophia froze. That's something big. Naruto's heartbeat quickened. An infant dragon. Some other mini-boss. He bit his lip. Should we go around or see if it's blocking the path? Sophia clenched her fists. We might have to fight if it's in our route. Let's stay alert. Sure enough, as they neared a junction, a hulking figure crashed into view. An infant dragon, scarlet scales glinting in the faint light, a smaller version of the dreaded lower floor dragons, but still formidable. Hot steam curled from its nostrils, and it brandished sharp claws. Damn, Sophia muttered. This is beyond typical. We can handle an orc, but a baby dragon. Naruto swallowed. We can do it if we're careful. If it's alone, we'll use the same synergy range plus close combat. Ready? She hesitated, then nodded, adrenaline surging. Okay. Let's go. The infant dragon snarled, rearing back. A swirl of flame danced in its maw, and it exhaled a cone of scorching fire. Naruto dove behind a rock, feeling the heat sear across his shield. Sophia rolled aside, boots skidding on stone. Distracted. She yelled. Naruto popped out, crossbow firing a steel-tipped bolt. It hit the dragon's flank, but the creature's scales mostly deflected it, leaving a shallow wound. Enraged, the dragon charged. Sophia dashed in from behind, slashing. Sparks flew, leaving a deeper gouge in its scaled tail. The monster hissed, spinning to lash out with a barbed tail swipe. She barely ducked, cursing. Naruto circled, hooking his shield to deflect a swipe of claws, then lunged. The sword bit into the beast's forelimb. The dragon roared, flames licking at its jaws again. Not good. Naruto forced the blade deeper, trying to disrupt its stance. Sophia took the opening to stab its unprotected side. Blinded by pain, the dragon flailed, launching a partial flame breath. Sophia dodged, but Naruto caught a glancing burn on his shoulder. He yelped, stepping back, pain raging. Potion. He gasped, fumbling for the vial. The dragon advanced, ignoring the rapier in its hide. In that moment, a swirl of furious determination welled in Naruto. He couldn't let this beast incinerate them. Overcoming the burn's agony, he mustered the synergy from War Shadow's stealth, Lizardman's aggression, Frog Shooter's ranged cunning, culminating in a single purposeful slash across the dragon's neck. The blade glowed faintly with Harvest Crest's aura. But the final roar, the infant dragon collapsed, dissolving into swirling embers and black dust. The leftover heat singed Naruto's clothes, but he stood firm, adrenaline singing in his veins. Sophia staggered over, eyes wide. We did it. The remains left behind a massive magic stone, glimmering with a fiery core, plus several scales and a small chunk of draconic bone that shimmered with latent heat. Naruto let out a trembling laugh. Talk about a boss drop. Sophia's jaw dropped. That's gotta be worth a fortune. Infant dragon materials are rare on the upper floors. She shot him a grin. And that finishing blow of yours, holy hell. Naruto's arms shook, the synergy swirling inside him near a breaking point. We need to go. I'm about to pass out. She helped him gulp the potion, and they limped back up to safety. It was night when they reached the guild hall. Hestia, who had waited anxiously, rushed to Naruto's side the moment they entered. Naruto. Sophia. You're both alive. She noticed a burn on Naruto's shoulder, partially healed but still raw. What in the world happened? Sophia exhaled shakily. Infant dragon. We barely pulled it off. Hestia paled, turning to Naruto in alarm. He squeezed her hand reassuringly. It's okay. We prevailed. And we have some serious loot. At the exchange, the clerk practically salivated over the infant dragon scales and bone chunk, awarding a significantly large sum of valis. The War Shadow and Orc materials added even more to the pot. Sophia whistled at her half. I'm set for months with this. Naruto, wincing from the leftover ache, collected his portion. We can fix more of the church and have plenty for potions, repairs everything. Hestia was speechless, tears welling. You braved a dragon. He nodded. We have to push ourselves to grow. Evolution needs challenges. And this time, we had Sophia's help. He turned to her. Thanks for partnering with me. I owe you. She shrugged, though her eyes glinted with respect. It was beneficial for both of us. I might do it again sometime, just, not every day. My nerves can't handle daily baby dragons. They shared a weary laugh. Before they left, Rose approached, having noticed the unusual drop exchange. She studied the item list. Infant dragon. On the 11th floor. You're insane. But there was a grudging admiration in her voice. You're not lying about your progress, Naruto. He rubbed the back of his neck. Thanks, I guess. Her expression turned sober. Just don't let success blind you. The dungeon always has bigger nightmares waiting. She paused. But for what it's worth, good work. Hestia, still in shock, clung to Naruto's uninjured arm. They left the guild wealthier than ever, hearts pounding from the near-death encounter. 0. Back at the church, Naruto practically collapsed onto a bench. Hestia and Sophia followed, the latter politely declining an offer to stay longer. I need rest, she said, looking at Naruto. But let's keep in touch. With that, she slipped away into the Aurario Night, Valis pouch clinking at her waist. Hestia knelt next to Naruto, wiping sweat from his brow. You're pushing yourself so hard, she murmured, voice filled with concern. I'm proud, but also worried. He mustered a faint smile. I know. It's the only way to truly harness this skill. I can't half-step it. She sighed. At least let me do the fauna update. She retrieved her kit, gently lifting Naruto's shirt to reveal the swirling inscriptions on his back. A drop of goddess blood fell, and the fauna glowed intensely. Hestia gasped, truly gasped this time. What is it? He asked, voice tight. Tears glistened in her eyes. Your stats, your agility and strength are nearing the peak for a level 1. And there's War Frog integration achieved plus a new line. Draconic Seed, dormant. Gains potential from contact with draconic monsters. Naruto's mind reeled. That baby dragon gave me a partial aspect. She nodded, voice trembling with excitement. Yes. It's dormant, meaning you need more contact with draconic essences to awaken it. But it's there, Naruto. You're close to leveling. With your stats so high, one big push might break you through to level 2. He closed his eyes, letting the euphoria wash over him. A swirl of energy pulsed in his core, war frog synergy fully integrated, giving him a subtle sense of acid and stealth combined. He could imagine turning that synergy into specialized moves, maybe an acid lace slash or a silent approach. The possibilities were endless. Hestia cupped his cheek, tears still brimming. Do you realize how fast you've grown? Adventurers spend months or years to reach this threshold. Your methodology, farming, harnessing synergy, Harvest Crest, has accelerated everything. Naruto blinked away his own tears. This is only possible because I have you, goddess, and a place to come back to. Because I want to protect you and this family we're building. She smiled through the tears. Then promise me you'll slow down a bit, at least for a few days. Let your body recover. We have enough ballast to fix the roof, buy better gear. Focus on healing. He laughed softly. Alright. You win. We'll rest for a bit. He clasped her hand. Then, we plan our next move, maybe explore the 12th floor. If we gather more draconic essence, I might fully awaken that aspect. Hestia nodded, a bright flush coloring her cheeks. Just don't fight a full-grown dragon. At least not yet. Naruto's eyes fluttered open to the gentle morning light spilling through a makeshift window in the old church. The repairs they'd funded had made a significant difference. The worst leaks had been patched, and some new glass panes let in beams of sunlight that illuminated the worn pews. He gingerly sat up from his pallet, feeling the lingering ache in his shoulder, where the infant dragon's flames had scorched him just a week prior. Beneath his bandaged skin, the burn still twinged, but it was mostly healed thanks to Hestia's doting care and the potions they could now afford. Memories of that fight flooded his mind. The dragon's roar, the blistering heat of its fire breath, and the exhilaration of delivering the final charge slash. Even now, he sensed the draconic seed lying dormant within his fauna. His friend and sometimes mentor Sophia Roll had parted ways a few days back, wanting to sell her share of the loot and handle her own business. They had agreed to team up again soon. Across the chamber, near the repaired altar, Hestia was already awake, tidying up a few scattered books. The petite goddess wore an apron over her usual white mini-dress, her twin tails swishing across her back. The improvements in their base of operations had done wonders for her spirits. She noticed his stirring and offered a bright smile. Good morning, Naruto, she said warmly, pushing aside a small crate of supplies. How's the shoulder? He rolled it experimentally. It still stings a bit, but I'm fine. Glad to hear it, she replied, relief evident in her soft voice. We've had so much success lately it's almost too good to be true. Naruto rose, stretching his arms. Well, we've earned it. Hestia set her hands on her hips. Your stats are nearing the cap for level 1, 2. Maybe you level soon. The guild says that once an adventurer performs a feat recognized by their fauna, it's possible to rank up. Beating that dragon might be the catalyst. He nodded, recalling how monstrous that fight had been. A sense of pride mingled with caution. If I can keep pushing, I might see that jump. And once I'm level 2, our familiar name will spread. Hestia's eyes shone with hope. Then let's keep up the momentum carefully. Promise me you won't take on more dragons alone, at least for now. Naruto chuckled. Okay. No solo dragons for me. Their laughter filled the quiet space. Each day reaffirmed the trust between them, a goddess who'd placed her faith in a single determined adventurer and an otherworldly ninja who saw in her a kindred spirit. As he fastened a crude leather pauldron over his bandaged shoulder. A faint echo of an energy he once knew intimately in a distant life. Chakra. It was nearly imperceptible, a ghostly sensation that vanished as soon as he tried to grasp it. Shaking off the odd feeling, Naruto refocused on the day ahead, unaware of the destiny that was about to unfold. 0. At midday, Naruto and Hestia made their way to the guild. The building's tall columns and bustling interior had become a familiar sight. A swirl of voices filled the massive hall, clerks calling out adventurers' names, the clink of armor echoing against marble floors. Naruto's eyes swept across the crowd, half hoping he'd see Sophia's tall figure or the red hair of Rose Vanet. But there was no sign of either at the moment. They approached a side counter where a clerk, a small framed human man with round spectacles, greeted them. How can I help you today? Hestia offered a polite bow. We'd like to review the posted expeditions or job offers, particularly around floors 10 to 12. The clerk's eyebrows rose. That's an ambitious range for a new familia. Naruto flashed a confident grin. We've been handling it so far. We're looking to form or join an expedition, maybe recruit a supporter or two. Any leads? The clerk pulled out a ledger, flipping pages. We do have a notice from the Nox Familia seeking extra hands on a resource-gathering expedition to the 11th floor. They plan to gather glowstone shards from a cave system rumored to be near a hive of killer ants. It's next week, though. Hestia frowned slightly. Killer ants can be nasty. but having more people around might help. Naruto nodded, remembering the dwarven adventurer who'd lost a party member to a swarm of those creatures. Risky, but maybe worth it. The clerk continued, alternatively, you could do private runs. The guild is also offering a special quest to subjugate orcs on floor 12. There have been reports of a large orc presence. The pay's decent, but it's recommended for parties with at least one level 2 adventurer. Is that you? Naruto hesitated. Not yet. We're not quite there. But maybe we can tackle it if we find allies. Then good luck, the clerk said, finalizing a note in the ledger. As they stepped away from the counter, Hestia tugged at Naruto's sleeve. The orc quest is too big for us alone. The Nox Familia expedition might be safer. Or we do more personal farming until you level. Naruto shrugged. If we keep farming the 10th or 11th floor, it might take weeks to get that final push I need. We could do it, but the Nox Familia expedition could be a chance to prove ourselves and speed up my growth with higher risk enemies. Just then, they spotted Rose Vanit behind her usual desk, reviewing forms. Hestia nudged Naruto. Let's get her opinion. She's bound to know which is better for you right now. They joined the short line at Rose's station. When their turn came, the receptionist raised a brow. I see you two are still in one piece. Heard rumors about an infant dragon kill last week. You truly are a glutton for punishment, Naruto. He grinned sheepishly. It wasn't exactly planned. Hestia explained their quandary. Should we join an expedition with Nox Familia on the 11th floor or take a private quest on the 12th for orc subjugation? Rose's expression turned contemplative. Nox Familia is mid-tier. They can be overconfident. Killer ants swarm quickly, and if the Nox leaders are incompetent, you could get caught in a bad situation. The orc subjugation on the 12th floor is also quite dangerous without a confirmed level 2. She tapped her pen on the desk. If you insist on risky ventures, I'd advise gleaning more details about Nox's leaders first. The orc quest is best tackled with a solid party. If you do form a strong team, that mission might be your best shot at a recognized feat. Naruto and Hestia exchanged a glance. Both recognized the logic. A feat recognized by the gods could help him trigger level 2. Thanks, Rose, Naruto said, rolling back on his heels. We'll think about it. She gave a curt nod, turning to the next adventurer. The duo left the guild, weighed down by decisions. As they walked the cobblestone streets, a plan slowly crystallized in Naruto's mind. If he could gather a reliable party to handle the orc subjugation, the challenge might be exactly what he needed to push into level 2. They returned to the church, the midday sun casting long beams across the newly repaired ceiling. Hestia immediately cleared a spot on the battered altar and spread out a large parchment map of the dungeon's upper levels. The circled orc subjugation quest glowed in bold red ink near the 12th floor. Let's list who we can invite, she suggested, plucking a quill pen from a box. We know Sophia is an option, she's skilled, but is she free? Also, do we have enough funds to pay a dedicated supporter? Naruto scratched his cheek. We've got some spare valis from the infant dragon loot. Enough to hire or entice a supporter, maybe an extra fighter. We can front some gear or potions as a signing bonus. But we need to be selective. Hestia scribbled notes. Sophia is first. She's proven reliable. Next, do we consider Lily from the Soma Familia? I've heard she sometimes works as a supporter for new adventurers. Naruto paused. Lily, I've seen her around. She's good at carrying loot, but she's got a reputation for scamming. Doesn't she also have a tough relationship with her familia? We might want someone less complicated. Hestia frowned. True. We can ask around, but we have to be cautious about trust. Let's see if any smaller familias have posted notices for extra manpower. They spent the afternoon making discreet inquiries among local shops and acquaintances. A blacksmith they knew introduced them to Jeff, a traveling swordsman who was between parties. Jeff had mild experience in the 8th and 9th floors, a dependable sword, but not an outstanding fighter. The risk was that the 12th floor might be out of his league. Next, a chance conversation with an apothecary led them to meet Ray, a timid but competent healer who had parted ways with her old familia after a dispute. She was searching for a group that would treat her fairly. I'm not strong in direct combat, she admitted, but I can handle injuries and brew potions on the go. Naruto's eyes lit up. That's perfect, Ray. We've been short on healing support. We'll pay you a fair share. Hestia beamed, her sweet nature quickly putting Ray at ease. Welcome to our temporary team, if you'll have us. By late afternoon, they'd managed to gather a potential roster. Sophia, if she agreed, Jeff, and Ray. Just enough to attempt the quest. But everything hinged on whether Sophia, the strongest among them, would come along. Without her, tackling a horde of orcs seemed too big a stretch. That evening, as the sun dipped below Rario's skyline, Naruto ventured to Sophia's usual haunt, a small tavern near the guild. The place was dimly lit, rowdy with off-duty adventurers. He found her in a corner booth, nursing a mug of ale and talking to a cat-eared demi-human about some completed job. She lifted an eyebrow upon spotting him. "Naruto. You tracking me down for another gig?" He slid into the opposite seat, ignoring the pungent smell of stale beer. "Possibly. There's a quest to subjugate orcs on floor 12. We want to form a stable party and tackle it in about a week." Sophia took a drink, studying him over the rim of her mug. "Orcs on 12, huh? Not easy. My rapier does well on single targets, but a whole group might be tricky. What's the payoff?" He laid out the quest details. Potential for big bounties on orc hide, tusks, and a direct guild reward for clearing out the nest. He also hinted at the intangible reward of performing a heroic feat that might help him level. She snorted. "Always pushing your limits, huh?" "Yup," he replied with a sheepish grin. "We can bring in a few more people, one swordsman, a healer. That plus me and you should be enough if we coordinate." Sophia mulled it over, drumming her fingertips on the table. Finally, she shrugged. "Alright, I'm in. But I want the usual deal. Half of my kills, loot, and a fair cut of the quest reward." "Done," Naruto said, relief flooding him. "We'll meet at the church in 2 days to strategize." "Sound good?" She nodded. "Deal. Just try not to nearly die again, okay?" He laughed, clapping her shoulder. "No promises." 0. The following morning, Naruto woke from a dream that left him breathless. He had been standing in a familiar training field, the scarred wooden posts reminding him of Konoha's old practice grounds. Distant voices Sakura's, Sasuke's, and Kakashi-sensei's echoed in the background. And in his hands, he'd been forming a hand seal, channeling a surge of chakra that flared bright and potent. Then, as a wave of nostalgia crashed over him, he jolted awake in the quiet of the church. He pressed a palm to his chest, heart pounding. It had been so long since he felt chakra in that dreamlike manner. The faint sensations from the day before suggested it might be real. Before he could dwell on it, Hestia peeked around the corner of the altar, sporting her usual bright expression. "You're up early, Naruto. Did you sleep well?" He forced a smile. "Mostly. Had some memories. It's nothing to worry about." She studied him, concern flickering in her blue eyes. "If you say so. By the way, our new friends are coming later to discuss the orc quest. Are you ready?" "Yeah," he said, pushing aside the dream. "Let's finalize the plan." By midday, Jeff and Ray arrived, each carrying their gear. Jeff, a lean adventurer with auburn hair, wore plain leather armor and carried a longsword. Ray, shorter and dressed in a simple robe, clutched a staff topped with a small crystal. Hestia welcomed them warmly, offering tea in mismatched cups. Soon after, Sophia strode in, greeting them with a quick nod. "All here?" Sophia said, glancing around the church's ragged interior. "So, what's the strategy?" Naruto unrolled a detailed sketch of the 12th floor's rumored layout. "We know orcs cluster in this region here," he pointed to a wide corridor marked with question marks. "The quest says there's a nest. Probably at least a dozen orcs, maybe more if they have a leader." "That's a lot," Ray murmured, fidgeting. "But if we coordinate, I can handle healing, keep you guys from bleeding out." Jeff looked uneasy but swallowed hard. "I can hold the line with my longsword if they come in a wave. My style is mostly defensive. If I do that, Sophia and Naruto can flank." Sophia leaned over the map. "I'll target orcs on the edge with my rapier. Naruto can use crossbow fire or get in for synergy-based finishers. Then we collect all the materials and hopefully survive." Hestia tapped the map. "We also have potions. Everyone gets at least 2 healing potions. Naruto's earlier plan with vantage points might help if we find an elevated area or narrow corridor." They hashed out details for an hour. How to lure orcs, how to retreat if cornered, how to handle an orc leader if one appeared. Naruto listened intently, occasionally adding gleaned insights from his prior dungeon runs. "Once we deal with the nest," Naruto concluded, "we bring proof of subjugation like orc tusks or hide back to the guild for the reward. If it's a major success, it might be recognized as a feat." His gaze flicked to Hestia, who gave a small encouraging nod. He dared not mention leveling in front of the others, though they likely guessed. "All set, then," Sophia said, standing. "We leave the day after tomorrow at dawn." "Sound good?" They agreed. Ray and Jeff headed out, promising to gather personal supplies. Sophia left last, after trading a few final remarks with Naruto about caution and synergy. When the church finally fell quiet, Naruto sank onto a bench, mind reeling with the complexities of leading a party. He felt the slightest tingle in his core again, that ephemeral sense of chakra. It was getting stronger. "This is it," he whispered. "Between evolution, leveling up, and whatever's happening with my chakra, I'm on the verge of something big." Hestia approached from behind, resting a gentle hand on his shoulder. 0. Dawn broke crisp and clear. Naruto, Hestia, Sophia, Jeff, and Ray gathered at Babel Tower's entrance. The morning crowd of adventurers hustled around them, some returning from overnight delves, others just starting their day's expedition. After a quick ear check, Hestia gave Naruto a tight hug. "I won't be going down," she said, eyes flicking anxiously between them all. "Be careful." He offered a reassuring grin. "We'll be back soon, goddess." Then, with purposeful strides, the four adventurers descended into the dungeon's depths. The stone corridors of the first few floors were by now routine to Naruto and Sophia, though Jeff and Ray took everything in with tense alertness. Occasional clashes with goblins or kobolds tested their synergy, but they moved swiftly, saving energy for the real threat below. By the time they reached the 10th floor, Naruto felt beads of sweat gathering under his armor. The memory of how he'd once farmed frog shooters here made him nostalgic, but there was no time to indulge. They pressed onward, the corridors widening as they ventured deeper. The air grew cooler, dank with the smell of moss and something more ominous. The shift between the 11th and 12th floors was marked by a heavier atmosphere. Even the light crystals embedded in the wall seemed fewer and farther between. Jeff gripped his sword hilt nervously, Ray clenched her staff, and Sophia's rapier hovered close to her side. Naruto led, crossbow in hand. Stepping into the 12th floor corridor, they found signs of orc presence almost immediately. Large footprints embedded in the moist ground, half-gnawed carcasses of lesser monsters, and a rancid smell that turned Ray pale. "Definitely orcs," Sophia muttered. "I smell them." Naruto motioned for them to proceed carefully. Harvest crest tingled within him, as if anticipating new prey. This time, though, it wasn't just about materials. They had an actual mission. Subjugate an orc nest rumored to be terrorizing the deeper nooks of this floor. It didn't take long to find the first sentries. 2 orcs, each nearly 2 meters tall, armed with crude clubs. They grunted to each other in guttural tones, patrolling near a branching passage. "Move quietly," Naruto whispered, taking aim with his crossbow. Sophia readied a rapier, and Jeff positioned himself behind a stalagmite. Ray stood at the rear, staff trembling in her grip. Naruto loosed a bolt, striking one orc in the shoulder. It roared in shock. Instantly, Sophia dashed forward, plunging her blade into the beast's side. Jeff rushed the second orc, raising his longsword to parry a downward club strike. The clang reverberated. Ray's voice cut through the chaos. "Light heal." A soft glow enveloped Sophia, boosting her vigor as she danced around the orc's flailing arms. Naruto reloaded, firing again. This time, the bolt lodged in the orc's thigh, staggering it. With a savage slash, Sophia finished it off. Black dust swirled, leaving behind a decent-sized magic stone and a thick hide scrap. Meanwhile, Jeff's orc forced him back with raw power. Naruto darted in, sword drawn. He timed a synergy-charged finishing blow, feeling War Frog integration surge through him. The orc disintegrated, leaving behind an extra chunk of hide courtesy of Harvest Crest. Breathing heavily, they regrouped. 2 down, Sophia said, wiping sweat from her brow. No telling how many remain. Jeff gave a shaky nod, adjusting his battered sword. "We can handle them if they come in pairs. But if a whole group attacks?" "We stick to the plan," Naruto said firmly. "Find a choke point or corner, use Ray's healing as support, keep synergy kills going. If we see a large nest, we go all out." Deeper into the 12th floor, the corridors began to warp, curving into semicircular arches of rough stone. Strange echoes bounced around them, growls, distant roars, and the heavy thud of orcish footsteps. The tension mounted with every step. Ray's knuckles were wide around her staff, and even Sophia's usual bravado took on a cautious edge. "Up ahead," Jeff whispered, pointing with the tip of his longsword. The passage opened into a broad cavern, partially illuminated by clusters of dull glowing crystals. Shadows flickered across the jagged rock walls. The stench intensified, thick and revolting. Naruto peered around a corner to glimpse a disturbing sight. A cluster of orcs, at least 5 or 6, lounging in a wide clearing. Some gnawed on raw meat, others dozed or snarled at each other. At the far side, a large orc, possibly a variant, loomed, scratching at the ground with claw-like nails. Its eyes glowed red in the dim. "This must be the nest," Naruto breathed, heart pounding. Indeed, scattered around were bones, tattered monster hides, and half-eaten carcasses. The orcs grunted and bickered among themselves, oblivious to the approaching threat. Sophia's jaw clenched. "That's more than half a dozen. If we don't do this right, we'll be overrun." Ray swallowed hard. "I can maintain a healing field for a short time if we cluster, but not if we get separated." Jeff glanced at Naruto. "What's the plan?" Naruto gathered them in a tight huddle, voice low. "We can try a pincer approach. Jeff and I will draw their attention from the front. Sophia, you circle around to snipe them with rapier strikes, or we can soften them with crossbow shots. Ray, hang back near the entrance, ready to heal or buff as needed. Once we whittle them down, I'll go for synergy kills." Sophia nodded. "Sounds good, but watch that big orc. He looks bigger than the rest. Might be their leader." They inched closer, hugging the cavern wall. Naruto loaded the crossbow, heart thrumming in his ears. The memory of the infant dragon fight flashed through his mind. This was different, but no less dangerous. If they could handle an infant dragon, maybe they could handle an orc nest. He steeled himself, took aim at one of the smaller orcs near the perimeter, and fired. The bolt struck its target with a wet thump, eliciting a guttural roar. Instantly, the other orcs jerked upright, brandishing clubs and axes. Jeff lunged forward, parrying a savage swing from a furious orc. Sophia dashed to the flank, landing a quick series of precise jabs into another's exposed back. Ray chanted from behind them, a faint glow enveloping the party. Naruto swapped the crossbow for his sword, meeting an orc's overhead blow with his shield. The impact rattled his bones, but he held firm. Slipping under its guard, he slashed across its torso. Dust and black mist swirled as Harvest Crest flared, leaving behind an orc hide. Another beast roared from the left. He barely managed to pivot, parrying the club with a clang of steel. Chaos ensued. The orcs, enraged and outnumbering them, pressed their advantage. Jeff took a club to the shoulder and stumbled, wincing, but Ray's quick incantation mended the bruises. Sophia danced among them with lethal grace, though each thrust brought her dangerously close to an orc's massive fists. Naruto tried to keep track of all angles, repeatedly blocking or weaving around blows. The synergy in his foulness surged with each kill. War frog aspects fueling his reflexes, letting him slip into positions to finish off wounded orcs. Then the leader lumbered forward. Nearly a head taller than the rest, with bulging muscles and a ridge of spines along its arms, it bellowed a command. The remaining orcs rallied, forming a wall of flesh. Sophia lunged in to stab the leader's flank, but it pivoted with surprising speed, knocking her aside with a brutal backhand. She crashed into a rock formation, gasping for breath. "Sophia!" Naruto shouted, rushing to intercept the leader before it could stomp her. He flung himself at the orc's legs, sword slicing. The creature roared, smashing down with an oversized club. Naruto leaped back, panting, shield trembling in his grip. Across the cavern, Jeff cut down another lesser orc, but two more lunged at him simultaneously. Amid this fray, something primal awoke in Naruto's core. The foulness synergy merged with a different energy, one he hadn't felt in so long. Chakra. His eyes widened as, for a split second, he felt it flow into his limbs, heightening his speed even more. With a startled cry, he shot forward, evading the next club strike and delivering a savage synergy-laced slash across the orc leader's chest. Green-tinged blood spattered. The beast howled but didn't go down. Fire lit in Naruto's veins. "This is it, the power from my old world." He pressed the advantage, ignoring the swirl of confusion. Chakra, however nascent, responded to his will. He stepped sideways, forming a half-familiar seal with one hand. The motion was awkward, his memories jumbled, but a faint swirl of wind seemed to accompany him. The orc leader staggered, leaving an opening. Sophia, battered but conscious, forced herself upright. Her rapier flashed, piercing the orc's shoulder. Jeff and Ray, rallying, charged from the other side. Feeling synergy crest to a zenith, Naruto roared, channeling that ephemeral chakra through his sword arm. Harvest Crest flared brilliantly as he struck the finishing blow. The orc leader collapsed in a storm of black dust, leaving behind a massive magic stone, tusks, hide, and a monstrous club. With that, the nest's momentum broke. The few surviving orcs wavered in fear, easy pickings for Sophia and Jeff to dispatch. When the final beast fell, the cavern was eerily silent. Panting, Naruto sank to his knees. His entire body trembled, but not just from exhaustion, it was from the echo of chakra that coursed within him. Ray rushed over to tend to the worst injuries, her staff glowing with healing magic. Sophia removed her dented helmet, dropping it to the ground as she slumped against a rock. "We actually did it. We beat them all." Jeff, holding a bloodied sword, let out a shaky laugh. "By the gods. That was insane." Naruto just stared at his open palm, heart thumping. Even as the synergy from his foulness soared with each kill, unlocking more aspects, the stirring of that familiar energy overshadowed everything else. What does this mean? The aftermath was a flurry of collecting loot. Guided by Naruto's Harvest Crest, they salvaged extra tusks and hide from the fallen orcs. They lugged heavy sacks of materials that would fetch a fine sum. Ray's voice wavered with relief. "I'll do one more mass heal for everyone. Just give me a moment." She exhaled, murmuring incantations. A soothing glow enveloped them, knitting torn muscles and stabilizing bruises. Jeff wiped sweat from his brow. "We should retreat to the surface soon. No telling if more orcs might wander back." Sophia nodded, though her gaze lingered on Naruto. She'd caught glimpses of his sudden surge in speed, the faint swirl of an unknown energy. "Naruto, you pulled off some weird moves back there. That last slash was beyond anything I've seen from you." He rubbed the back of his neck, cheeks flushing. "It's my foulness synergy. I think it's combining aspects in new ways." She stared a moment longer, but let it drop with a slight shrug. "Either way, it saved our hides." They agreed to begin the long trek back. The journey to the surface was slower than their descent. Each of them carried the weight of spoils and the weight of fatigue. When they finally emerged into Babel Tower's lower gate, the daylight felt surreal. Hestia was waiting in the main lobby, pacing anxiously. At the sight of them, she rushed forward, eyes widening at their ragged states. "You're all alive," she cried, hugging Naruto tightly, then fussing over Sophia and the others. "We did it," Sophia confirmed, dropping her loot sack with a thud. "Orc nest, cleared." Hestia's eyes shimmered with pride as she turned to Naruto. "I'm so glad you're safe." She paused, reading the charged expression on his face. "You look different." He swallowed, giving her hand a gentle squeeze. "We'll talk later. Let's go to the guild first." Near the exchange counters, they offloaded the orc materials to a startled clerk. The clerk's eyes went wide at the quantity and quality of the hides and tusks. Meanwhile, Hestia and Naruto made their way to the quest counter, presenting proof of subjugation. A hush fell over the surrounding adventurers, some of whom recognized them as the Hestia Familia. Word traveled fast. The new kids on the block had just wiped out an entire orc nest on the 12th floor. Rose Van had stepped over, scanning the evidence. "This is thorough," she admitted, scribbling notes with characteristic efficiency. "The guild acknowledges your success in clearing that nest. The reward is substantial." Naruto merely nodded, still half dazed from the swirling energies in his body. Hestia saw his distant look and guided him by the arm. "We'll finalize the rest tomorrow," she told Rose gently. "He needs rest." Sophia, Jeff, and Ray collected their shares, each exchanging quick handshakes with Naruto. "Thanks for letting me join," Ray said, voice trembling with fatigue. "I've never done anything like this." Jeff concurred. "It was rough, but we pulled through." Sophia patted Naruto's shoulder. "Let me know when you want another insane run. For now, I'm off to crash in a nice, soft bed." She smirked. "Congrats, hero." Once parted from them, Naruto and Hestia hastened home, each step feeling heavier. At the church, Naruto collapsed onto a broken pew, mind swirling with the fight's intensity and the faint aftertaste of chakra. He barely registered Hestia's gentle words about making dinner. Eventually, she returned with a simple stew, coaxing him to eat. When they finished, Hestia fetched her fauna kit. "You should update now, right?" He nodded, swallowing anxiously. "Yes. Something big is happening." She pricked her finger, letting a droplet of blood glow over the fauna on his back. Instantly, Naruto felt a rush of warmth. Hestia gasped. Her voice quivered as she read the shifting hieroglyphs. "Naruto, your stats, they've maxed out in multiple categories for a level 1. Strength, agility, endurance, they're all at the upper limit." He tensed. "Does that mean?" She inhaled sharply. "Yes. You can level up. Your fauna recognizes the orc nest subjugation as a major feat. You're at the threshold of level 2. The wave of emotion crashed over Naruto. He had reached the point where an adventurer advanced in rank, unlocking new potential. "So I just accepted." Hestia nodded, tears brimming in her eyes. "I just need to finalize the update. But there's also something else." She frowned, deciphering more runes. "Your fauna acknowledges a foreign energy reawakening inside you. Chakra path. Dormant reservoir unsealed, it's forming a separate subscript next to your normal stats, referencing an older memory or life." Naruto's heart thundered. "Chakra path, that must be from my past world. The fauna is bridging the gap, unlocking my old power." Hestia sniffled, half laughing, half crying. "You're one of a kind, Naruto. Are you ready? I can finalize your level 2 right now." He closed his eyes, exhaling a trembling breath. "Yes. Let's do it." She pressed her hand over the glowing fauna. The inscription shifted, new lines emerging, marking him as level 2. A surge of searing light enveloped him, and for an instant, he felt two energies converge: fauna synergy and the blossoming well of chakra in his core. A rush of memories shot through his mind. Training with Kakashi-sensei, forming the Cage Bunshin sign, summoning a swirl of wind around his palms. The flicker of a clone jutsu danced at the edge of his consciousness. When he opened his eyes, Hestia was staring, transfixed. "They're glowing," she breathed. Tiny motes of light drifted from his body, dissolving in the air. With them came a sense of renewed vitality in his muscles, a presence that felt intimately familiar. Naruto slowly stood, fists clenched. He raised his right hand, willed a tiny swirl of chakra. A faint shimmer appeared, dancing above his palm. This is real. My chakra's back." Not at the colossal levels from the Fourth Great War, nor even enough for advanced jutsu, but reminiscent of the time around the Chunin exams. Basic ninjutsu, enhanced stamina, sharper reflexes. Enough to be a formidable edge. Hestia's face broke into a radiant smile. "Naruto Uzumaki, level 2. He laughed, tears burning in his eyes. "Yeah. A new beginning in this world. 0. By dawn, rumors had spread through Arario. The young Hestia Familia adventurer had leveled up in record time, just days after clearing an orc nest. Even those who doubted the feats were forced to acknowledge the official quest completion. Naruto awoke with a hum of energy pulsing in his limbs, an exhilarating sense that he could truly stand among the city's stronger adventurers. He slipped out of bed quietly, letting Hestia rest. Outside the church, the early morning light painted the streets in soft gold. Naruto found a small open space behind the building and breathed in the crisp air. His newfound rank thrummed inside him, but so did chakra, and that was what he yearned to explore. For the first time since he arrived in this world, he confidently formed the ram seal, focusing on the swirl of energy in his core. A wave of familiarity crashed over him. Back in Konoha, this was second nature. Now, it felt like greeting an old friend. Chakra trickled into his arms, forming a faint blue aura around his fingertips. He exhaled, heart pounding. Carefully, he molded chakra. The memory of how to shape it was a bit rusty, but the principle remained. Kagebunshin Jutsu. He hissed. A puff of smoke erupted, and from it, a single clone emerged. Naruto stared at the doppelganger, which grinned back in equal amazement. "We did it," the real Naruto whispered, eyes shining. While not the swarm of clones he once produced with ease, creating even one stable clone was a victory. The clone wobbled slightly, reminding him that his reserves were less than he once possessed. But the principle was the same. He'd regained access to ninjutsu. His mind spun with possibilities. In this world, no one used chakra. At minimum, he had illusions, transformations, clone tactics, tools that would blend with his fauna to create a unique fighting style. He let the clone dissolve, energy returning to him. Giddiness swelled in his chest. He recalled the frantic, fearful days after arriving in Arario, stripped of all he'd known. Yet, here he stood, a level 2 adventurer, reclaiming the chakra that once defined him. All thanks to Hestia, the fauna, and his new allies. Hearing footsteps, he turned to see Hestia peering around the corner. "Naruto. I sense something. Are you practicing?" He grinned sheepishly. "Yeah. I can do some old world stuff again." Her curious gaze landed on the faint traces of smoke. "That was a clone. Like, 2 of you?" He nodded, cheeks flushing. "Just one so far. It's basically a living copy I control. In my old world, I could create thousands, but my chakra's not even close to what it used to be. My control is completely shot, so I'll have to train to get it under control again." She approached, gently placing a hand on his arm. "This is incredible. Combining fauna powers with abilities no one here has ever seen." He closed his eyes, letting her warm presence soothe him. "I want to do more than just fight. I want to use these powers to protect our familia, just like I once protected my friends." Hestia smiled, her midnight blue eyes filled with devotion. "Then let's show Arario what we can do. The Hestia familia is small, but you've proven we can achieve great things." He nodded, heart surging with determination. "Let's keep going, goddess, together." 0. By midday, the church was full of unexpected visitors. Word had spread that Naruto was now level 2, one of the fastest promotions in recent memory. Curious adventurers stopped by, hoping to glean secrets of his success or to see if rumors of him wielding strange magic were true. Hestia tried to handle them gracefully, but the constant influx was overwhelming. Amid the clamor, a few friends dropped in with heartfelt congratulations. Ray arrived, eyes bright with excitement. "Naruto. The news is all over the guild. I'm so happy for you." She offered a small basket of herbal pastries as a celebratory gift. Jeff, more subdued, clapped Naruto on the back. "I guess your hunch was right, that orc nest was your stepping stone. Congrats, man. You earned it." Sophia sauntered in with her usual swagger, a half smile curling her lip. "Well, color me impressed. Didn't expect you to jump levels so quickly, but I'm not surprised given how crazy you fight. So, you officially overshadow me now, huh?" Naruto chuckled. "You're strong in your own right, Sophia. This doesn't change anything except maybe I can carry more of the load next time." She scoffed, but a glint of respect shone in her eyes. "Damn right you will." During a lull in the commotion, Irene, a minor goddess known for her role in conflict mediation, stopped by. She'd once encountered Naruto near the slums, drawn by his aura of sincerity. "I heard the news," she said gently, her silver hair swaying. "Congratulations on your level up, Naruto. You continue to surprise Arario." Naruto bowed politely. "Thank you, Lady Irene. It's all thanks to Hestia and our allies." Irene smiled, then added in a hushed tone, "Be mindful. Rapid ascent often draws the attention of powerful deities. Some might be curious. Others might not have good intentions." Her eyes flicked meaningfully at Hestia, who nodded in acknowledgement. "I'll keep that in mind," Naruto said gravely. Eventually, evening fell, and the visitors trickled out. Hestia locked the church door with a sigh of relief. "I never expected so much fuss. Then again, you're kind of a big deal now, Naruto." He stretched, feeling the pleasant ache of newly energized muscles. "I guess so. But I don't want to get complacent. Level 2 is just a step." Hestia's expression turned thoughtful. Speaking of steps, the orc quest reward is in, plus the materials we sold. We have enough ballast to not only repair the entire church, but also expand it. Maybe even create a proper training hall or living quarters for future familia members. Naruto's eyes lit up. That'd be amazing. Let's do it. A real base for the Hestia familia somewhere others can join us without living in squalor. She giggled. Exactly. We can hire carpenters soon. Then her voice turned gentle. Also you should keep practicing your old world jutsu. If your chakra is stable, we can integrate it into your fighting style. I know you can't conjure armies of clones yet, but even if you can change a battle. A grin spread across his face. No argument there. I might need to do some trial and error to see how Felna interacts with ninjutsu. They sat down to a simple dinner, the flickering lantern light casting dancing shadows on the walls. Naruto told Hestia about his ninjutsu. The shadow clone, the transformation jutsu, basic wind manipulation. She listened intently, marveling at the strange powers from his old life. Before bed, Hestia updated his Felna again, verifying his new stats. The carved runes now read level 2, accompanied by a swirl of sub-skills referencing expansions and chakra path integration. Naruto couldn't help but feel a pang of wonder somehow, part of Konoha lived on within these arcane scripts. As he drifted off to sleep that night, Naruto's thoughts lingered on Irene's warning. Leveling quickly could attract both interest and ire. He vowed to protect Hestia and their budding familia from any who might seek to exploit them. With his Felna's evolution and his rekindled chakra, he believed he could stand up to whatever Aurelio threw at him next. 0. Over the next week, Naruto's routine transformed. Each dawn, he practiced ninjutsu behind the church, carefully coaxing the reacquired chakra to flow steadily. Though his reserves were modest compared to his old prime, the progress was swift. He could now form 2 shadow clones reliably, each stable enough to scout or assist in basic tasks. Hestia watched these sessions with fascination, sometimes bringing tear offering gentle feedback. Remember to pace yourself, she'd remind him when he showed signs of strain. You've got enough on your plate with the dungeon. Yet, her eyes gleamed with pride. In the afternoons, he delved into the dungeon usually with Sophia or occasionally with Jeff and Ray testing his newly combined Felna chakra approach. The synergy was striking. Even the lesser ninjutsu he commanded served as a force multiplier, allowing him to flank monsters or disorient them with a quick transformation. The Harvest Crest sub-skill continued yielding extra drops, increasing their profits. Hestia channeled those funds into hiring carpenters, who bustled around the church during the day, hammering and sawing, rebuilding the neglected wings. By day 10, the church was nearly unrecognizable. The roof was fully patched, the main hall repainted, and new living quarters built along one side. A modest training space took shape behind the altar. Hestia glowed with excitement, guiding the carpenters around, pointing out where she wanted a library corner or storage for potions. The Hestia familia, once scorned as a ragtag group, was becoming a legitimate household. One morning, Naruto fresh from a short dungeon run returned to find Hestia waiting with a letter in hand. She looked both intrigued and wary. "Naruto, you have mail." A messenger dropped this off. He blinked. "Mail? For me?" He tore open the seal, scanning the neat handwriting. "To Naruto Uzumaki of the Hestia familia. I have taken note of your recent achievements and your swift ascension to level 2. The brilliance of your feats cannot be denied. I, Lady Freya, would be honored to make your acquaintance. Should you find it agreeable, come to the Freya Familia mansion at your earliest convenience. Freya." Naruto's hands tightened involuntarily. He'd heard stories of Freya Familia, one of the most formidable in all Aurelio, led by the goddess of beauty, known for her intense fascination with powerful or promising adventurers. Hestia frowned, stepping closer to read over his shoulder. "Freya. That can't be good. She's rumored to collect interesting mortals, luring them into her familia with promises of strength or wealth." A chill ran down Naruto's spine. The memory of Irene's warning about gods who might take an interest in him loomed large. What should we do? Ignore it. Hestia chewed her lip. Ignoring Freya might anger her. But responding might lead you into her clutches. If she sets her eyes on you, it could be trouble. Naruto exhaled, crumpling the letter slightly. "I don't want to cause a feud with a top-tier familia. But I also won't let her manipulate me. Maybe I could meet her in a public setting like outside the mansion and keep it diplomatic." Hestia nodded slowly. "That might be wise. Or you can politely decline and see how she reacts. She might simply want to satisfy curiosity. Freya's known for fixating on individuals she deems interesting. If you show you're content and loyal to me, maybe she'll back off." He grimaced. "I hope so. I have no intention of leaving you or our familia. But if ignoring her is more dangerous," he trailed off, mind whirling with possibilities. Hestia's small hand touched his arm. "We'll handle it together," she said softly. "No matter what. You're not alone, Naruto." Relief flooded him. The unstoppable momentum of Arario's politics was about to crash into his life. But with Hestia's unwavering support, he felt a renewed confidence. He tucked the letter away, inhaling a slow breath. First, let's focus on building our familia's strength. Then we'll decide how to address Freya. They exchanged resolute nods. A soft creak echoed through the Hestia Familia church as dawn's light poured in through the newly repaired windows. The once ruined sanctuary now boasted a fresh coat of paint, mended pews, and a sense of vibrancy. In one corner, carpenters paid with the Familia's recent windfall were finishing the last beams for a second-floor sleeping area. The rhythmic hammering felt like a heartbeat, drumming with new life. Naruto Uzumaki, standing near the altar, gazed at it all with a mixture of pride and gratitude. Not so long ago, he and Hestia had slept in cold shadows, scraping by on half-rotten bread. Now, they had resources, allies, and a growing reputation. He'd become a level 2 adventurer faster than nearly anyone in recent memory. A swirl of warm energy thrummed in his belly as he formed a ram seal with practiced ease. In a quiet puff, a single identical copy of himself appeared. The clone glanced around the open hall, then gave a cheerful grin. "Morning, boss," it said. Naruto dismissed it with a wave. He was still pacing himself with clones for now, especially when not out in the field. The knowledge that each clone could channel not only his chakra but also, in some capacity, the synergy from his fauna had opened doors Naruto never thought possible. Harvest Crest, his sub-skill, already multiplied the monster materials he gathered. If each clone wielded that same advantage, the potential for farming monster stones and loot soared exponentially. Hestia entered from the hallway, eyes lighting up at the sight of the dissipating clone. "Practicing early again?" she asked, pushing a stray lock of black hair behind her ear. She wore a simple white dress, her usual attire, though now with a small tool belt around her waist, courtesy of her recent involvement in renovation projects. "Yeah," Naruto replied, stretching his arms. "I can make 4 clones at once without exhausting myself too much now. In the dungeon, they're a game changer. I just need to refine how I use them to gather resources safely." Hestia's gaze was gentle but knowing. "And you're thinking of turning that into a financial strategy, right? Your mind's been whirling with ideas ever since you realized how synergy works with the clones." A sheepish grin tugged at his lips. "Guilty as charged. You know me. I want to help us grow faster, get better gear, expand the familia, and maybe even start paying back some folks who believed in me when I first got here. Just don't wear yourself out," she cautioned, stepping closer to lay a hand on his arm. "We've seen how ambitious you can be. But I trust you." Naruto felt warmth flow through him, remembering how critical Hestia's faith had been. "I promise to pace myself. But I won't let this opportunity slip away." A sudden knock at the church's front doors startled them both. "That might be Jeff or Ray," Hestia noted. "They said they'd come by to discuss some new quests." Naruto nodded, inhaling a breath of anticipation. His mind was already racing. Shadow clones combing multiple dungeon floors was reminiscent of Rasen Shuriken training all over again. Soon weeks if not months of resource gathering will be condensed into days. Naruto pulled open the heavy wooden doors, expecting to see the familiar faces of his adventuring companions. Instead, he found Irene, the minor goddess known for her focus on peace and negotiation. She stood beside an older dwarven craftsman, both of them wearing polite smiles if somewhat anxious ones. "Hope we're not intruding," Irene began, her silver hair catching the morning sun. "We heard about the renovations and wanted to see how the Hestia Familia was faring." Hestia came forward, beaming. "Irene. It's been a while. Please, come in." She noticed the dwarf. "And you must be." He gave a slight bow, leathery hands gripping a cloth cap. "Name's Braun. I'm a traveling artisan who sometimes helps with odd jobs for smaller familias. Lady Irene said I might be of use here." Naruto greeted them warmly, showing them around the refurbished interior. Braun peered at the carpenter's work, occasionally nodding or pointing out ways to reinforce certain beams. Irene looked genuinely pleased at how the church had blossomed into a bright communal space. As they toured, the conversation shifted to the topic of finances. Irene, known for mediating disputes, also kept her ear to the ground regarding Arario's economic undercurrents. "Some of the lesser-known familias are struggling," she admitted, voice tinged with concern. "They can't afford to fix their compounds, or they're stuck paying inflated prices for supplies. Your rapid success has raised eyebrows and perhaps some envy." Hestia sighed, exchanging a glance with Naruto. "We've been fortunate with our quest rewards and Naruto's synergy skill. But we can't deny it's tough out there." Irene nodded, turning to Naruto. "I also hear rumors of your new capacity. Using clones to gather materials in the dungeon. People are calling it the unstoppable harvest. Are you prepared for what that might entail?" Naruto scratched the back of his head, half embarrassed. "I didn't realize it was big news yet. I guess word travels fast around Arario. But yes, I'm working on a technique to speed up the rate at which we gather monster drops. My clones can fight independently and each uses my fauna synergy. Braun let out a low whistle. That's no small thing, lad. If you can harvest double or triple the materials in a single run, you'll have coin flowing like water. He hesitated, thinking of potential backlash. I'm aware it might cause friction with established familias, especially the ones controlling resource monopolies. But I've always believed competition can be healthy. People are free to do their own thing. Irene's expression grew somber. Still, be cautious. Wealth can stir greed in mortal hearts and gods' hearts as well. The short silence stretched, broken only by the distant hammering of carpenters. Naruto felt Hescha's reassuring presence at his side and he was reminded that not every deity was as gentle as she. Freya's letter, he thought grimly. Finally, Hescha cleared her throat. We do appreciate the concern, Irene. But for now, we plan to keep forging ahead. Perhaps we can use our growing resources to help some smaller familias too, like a cooperative network. Naruto nodded enthusiastically. That's a great idea. I've always believed in alliances. We can buy or sell raw materials from them at fair rates, share the wealth. If I can help them fix their compounds like we did ours. Braun's eyes lit up. That's philanthropic. But also business savvy. If you gain a reputation for fairness, you'll attract more allies and more deals. Irene smiled softly. Ever the peacemaker, Hescha. And Naruto, I see your convictions haven't dulled. Very well. Braun here can coordinate with your carpenters, perhaps help you expand your training area. Consider it a small favor from me. Naruto offered a grateful bow. Thank you, Irene. We'll do our best not to misuse this opportunity. She and the dwarf left soon after, satisfied with the church's progress. Once the doors closed behind them, Naruto turned to Hescha. Time to get to work on this idea of building an economic network. Let's gather Ray, Jeff, and Sophia. I want their input on how to manage this influx of materials. Hescha laughed softly, hooking a finger under the ribbon beneath her chest. You're turning into quite the entrepreneur. Or maybe a feudal lord. Naruto just grinned, an electric excitement pulsing in his veins. If this goes well, we can reshape the city's adventuring economy and help others while we're at it. 0. The next day, Naruto stood in the courtyard behind the church's space once choked with rubble, now cleared and level, perfect for training. Jeff, Ray, and Sophia had gathered at his request, forming a loose circle. Hescha sat on a repaired bench nearby, eager to witness their brainstorming session. I appreciate you all coming, Naruto began, voice calm but charged with energy. We've had a lot of success in the dungeon lately, and that's opened up a chance to earn Valis at a scale we never imagined. But we need a system to sustain that growth without overextending ourselves or drawing unwelcome attention. Sophia crossed her arms, her rapier clinking against her hip. I heard about your clones collecting monster drops. That's a neat trick, but how do we keep from flooding the market? Prices might drop if we dump too many materials at once. Jeff nodded. Yeah, too much supply means less demand, right? Naruto tapped his chin. Exactly. Which is why we should approach smaller familias or independent crafters, people who typically get overshadowed by big familia deals. We can supply them consistently, at fair prices. They'll gain stable stock and we maintain good margins without crashing the market. Ray, hugging her staff, spoke hesitantly. So, you want to bypass the typical guild exchange system for some of the materials? Hescha chimed in, voice thoughtful. The guild is still essential for magic stones officially, we must exchange them for Valis. But items like monster hide, claws, fangs, or special drops can be sold in the open market. Many smiths and alchemists prefer private deals if it means better quality or stable supply. It's perfectly legal, as long as taxes are paid. The difference is we can do so in an equitable way. Sophia gave a wry grin. Seems you're building your own mini-empire, Naruto. So how do we start? Naruto spread a rough map of Arario's districts on a wooden crate. Braun, the dwarf Irene introduced, has connections with certain artisans who can't compete with big familia contracts. We'll approach them first, see if they want to buy direct. If they do, we can supply them with consistent materials weekly. He traced a line across the map to the city's eastern quarter. I also know a blacksmith named Darren who once gave me a small discount when I was new. He's overshadowed by Hephaestus and Goibnu familias, but he's skilled. He told me if I ever had a stable supply of hides, he'd make me gear at cost. That's a perfect example. Ray leaned forward. But we're only a handful of adventurers. Even with your clones, how do we gather enough materials every single week? A flicker of excitement lit Naruto's eyes. That's where shadow clones come in. I can create 4 to 5 stable clones at a time, maybe more if I keep training. Each clone can dive to the upper floors to farm or accompany a party to the middle floors. They each have my fauna synergy, meaning every finishing blow triggers additional drops. It's like having multiple Narutos farming simultaneously. Sophia whistled, impressed. It sounds insane, but if you can handle it, that's a huge advantage. He shrugged. I'll need strategic management. The clones share my stamina bar in a way, and if they're destroyed, I lose their collected knowledge though any physical loot they've pocketed remains behind if stored properly. We'll have to figure out the best approach. But with a rotating schedule, we can keep the supply chain consistent. Hestia nodded. And we can also sponsor lower-level Hestia Familia members once we recruit them. Imagine a newbie who normally has trouble collecting enough drops to sustain themselves. They can team up with a single Naruto clone, gain confidence, and funnel materials up the chain. Jeff scratched his chin. Sounds complicated, but profitable. Count me in. I could use stable pay to upgrade my armor. Ray offered a shy smile. I'm willing to, if you don't mind me healing the clones when they're wounded. It's a bit odd, healing illusions, clones, I mean, but if it helps. It does, Naruto assured her. The clones might not be illusions in the typical sense, but they have real bodies until dispelled. Your healing spells can keep them in the fight longer, thus collecting more materials. Sophia laughed, slapping a hand on Naruto's shoulder. You cunning fox, you. You're basically turning us into a micro-company. Just don't forget your friends when the Valis rolls in. Naruto's eyes sparkled with sincerity. Never. The whole point is to lift us all up. We'll be the most welcoming familia in Arario, protecting the overlooked, forging alliances, and maybe changing a few minds about what it means to be an adventurer. Within days, Naruto and Hestia took the first concrete steps toward building their new economic network. While contractors finished the church's renovations, Naruto recruited Jeff and Ray to serve as intermediaries for forging connections in the city. Meanwhile, Sophia volunteered to help him refine the multi-team approach for dungeon runs, as she had a knack for logistics. Naruto, with Jeff at his side, made a series of visits across Arario's lesser-traveled alleys. They stopped by unassuming workshops hidden between larger forges. Many were run by solitary artisans scraping out a living, blacksmiths who specialized in unique designs but lacked a steady supply of monster hides, tanners forced to accept low-paying contracts, or alchemists overlooked by bigger familia. At each stop, Naruto introduced himself politely, explaining he had access to consistent, high-quality materials from the upper and middle floors. He offered stable prices lower than the extortionate rates demanded by some big familia, but fair enough to earn the Hestia Familia healthy profit. Those artisans, starved for reliability, often jumped at the chance. A short, wiry woman named Tessa, known for her intricate monster leather armor, summed it up best. I can't compete with Hephaestus shops on marketing, but if I get reliable hides, I can undercut their custom jobs. You help me, I help you. She shook Naruto's hand, her eyes shining with renewed hope. While Naruto scouted deals, Sophia took Ray down to the dungeon's 7th floor to train her in small-scale farming. Ray needed the confidence, and Sophia was a swift teacher. Soon, Ray learned to manage small skirmishes while Sophia delivered finishing blows. Their synergy improved, building trust and speed. They collected modest drops each day, enough to test the new arrangement. By the second week, Naruto had laid out a formal schedule. Morning runs. 2 clones would lead small parties, like Ray, or newly recruited low-level members, through the 5th to 8th floors. They'd gather materials until midday. Afternoon runs. Another 2 clones accompanied higher-level adventurers, such as Sophia or Jeff, to the 9th or 10th floor, picking off mid-tier monsters like frog shooters and war shadows for more valuable loot. Naruto, the real one, would occasionally delve deeper, sometimes the 11th or 12th floor, if a quest or specialized drop was needed. Through careful note-taking, Naruto tracked each clone's experiences, using the memory transfer from dispelled clones to refine strategies. Hestia oversaw the warehousing of materials. The newly renovated basement of the church became a secure storage area, with strong locks and an organized system of crates. Ray practiced basic record-keeping, logging each day's haul. Jeff organized rotating shifts to transport materials to crafters around dusk, avoiding any large, suspicious caravans that might alert envious familias. Sophia, never one to relish bureaucracy, nonetheless admitted the system was slick. You're basically an army of you, she joked, elbowing Naruto after a successful run. Who needs a huge familia if you can replicate yourself and coordinate it all? He grinned. Still, I can't do everything alone. You guys are the real MVPs, making sure my clones don't get overwhelmed. That day, they returned with a trove of hides and magic stones. Hestia, waiting at the church entrance, burst with pride at the haul. She embraced Naruto, momentarily forgetting any reservations about overshadowing bigger familias. Within a fortnight, the Hestia Familia became a quiet powerhouse in Arario's monster materials market. Small shops sang their praises, placing orders in advance. Valis began flowing in. Enough to not only finish the church's renovations, but also plan expansions. A proper library for magical research, a training yard for novices, even the first hints of building a dormitory wing for future recruits. One late afternoon, Naruto found himself descending the 8th-floor corridor with 3 clones at his side. The plan was to gather large quantities of lizardman hides for Tessa's workshop. Thanks to Harvest Crest synergy, each finishing blow from any Naruto meant double drops. The clones advanced in formation, scanning for threats. A shrill hiss echoed off the damp walls. A pack of 4 lizardmen emerged, brandishing crude weapons. The real Naruto grinned, forming the ram seal. "We do this quick, guys." The clones nodded as one. They fanned out, cornering the lizardmen. 2 clones rushed in with coordinated sword strikes. Another clone leaped overhead, hurling a handful of thrown knives. The real Naruto circled, launching a diagonal slash that severed one lizardman's arm. It shrieked, dissolving in a swirl of black dust. Harvest Crest flared. 2 extra hide scraps materialized amid the dust, which the nearest clone scooped up. Another lizardman lunged at the real Naruto from behind, only to be tackled by a clone. The synergy-laced final blow came from Naruto's sword, dropping the monster instantly. More hide pieces shimmered. Within minutes, the corridor lay quiet, the lizardmen vanquished. Naruto gathered the spoils, feeling a surge of satisfaction. This is almost too efficient, he mused, noticing only minor scuffs on his armor. But just as he was about to press on, he heard a faint cry from down the tunnel. "Help someone." Naruto exchanged a glance with his clones. They rushed toward the voice, rounding a bend to discover a battered adventurer pinned under rubble. Blood trickled from his scalp and a broken sword lay nearby. Another adventurer, presumably his companion, lay unconscious a short distance away. Wasting no time, Naruto had one clone lift the debris while another stabilized the unconscious partner. He crouched beside the wounded man. "Hang in there. We'll get you out." The man coughed, eyes flickering with pain. "A snake woman ambush, she took our loot and collapsed the corridor." Naruto's brow furrowed. A rogue adventurer? Possibly from a rival familia or a freelance thief. "We'll handle it. Let's get you to safety first." Working together, the clones carefully freed both men. After tying bandages around their wounds, Naruto escorted them back toward the 7th floor safe zone. That's when they found fresh footprints leading deeper into the 8th floor, a sign of the so-called snake woman. He debated pursuing her, but the immediate priority was these men's safety. Still, the incident left him uneasy. If adventurers are turning bandit, maybe the dungeon's competition is fiercer than I realized, he thought. The city's big familias usually police the upper floors. But apparently, not well enough. He parted ways with the injured duo at a safe zone, ensuring they were stable and giving them some leftover potions. They thanked him profusely, promising to repay him. Naruto only nodded, urging them to find a proper healer on the surface. Returning to gather lizardman hides, he mulled over the shift in Arario's atmosphere. The Hestia familia's new wealth might be inspiring copycats or cutthroats who wanted a piece of the pie. If his success disrupted the old status quo, not everyone would respond kindly. When he finally hauled the day's spoils back to the church, he found Hestia talking with Ray about a wave of petty thefts reported near the dungeon entrance. Jeff sat by, looking grim. "Seems some unscrupulous folks are taking advantage of novices, stealing their loot," Ray explained. "The guild's concerned but can't patrol every corridor." Naruto folded his arms, recounting his earlier encounter. "I ran into that. A so-called snake woman ambushed 2 adventurers. They almost died." Hestia's face fell. "Naruto, we can't let that stand. If people think it's open season to rob or kill novices for resources." He nodded, an iron resolve forming. "Our familia stands for helping the overlooked, right? Let's do something about it. We can use our newfound influence and clones to keep watch. Maybe we'll capture these bandits, or at least deter them." Jeff cracked a wry smile. "Who'd have thought we'd become vigilantes on top of everything else?" Ray shook her head but smiled softly. "It's very you, Naruto, protecting the vulnerable. Count me in." Hestia's eyes shone with pride. "Then it's settled. We'll guard those who need it and keep forging alliances with folks who fall through the cracks." Naruto met her gaze, heart swelling. "This is exactly why I came here," he thought. "To do better, to protect people like I once promised." With an economy of synergy, an army of clones, and a heart set on justice, he felt unstoppable yet mindful that real challenges lay ahead. A few days later, the Hestia familia put their plan into action. Naruto, accompanied by Sophia, Ray, and a pair of shadow clones, patrolled the 7th and 8th floors. Their official reason was monster farming, but they also had a covert objective: root out the snake woman rumored to be robbing novice adventurers. They soon discovered that her presence was more extensive than one incident. Multiple battered adventurers recounted a tall, lithe woman with serpent-like eyes and a whip sword who attacked swiftly, seizing their loot and vanishing deeper into the dungeon. Each story stoked Naruto's anger. Late one afternoon, while investigating a side corridor, they found fresh carnage. A small party of novices left moaning on the ground, pockets stripped of stones, one unlucky soul pinned by a dagger to the wall. Sophia grimaced, carefully removing the blade and tending the wound with a basic salve. Any sign of her? Naruto asked the injured adventurer, a trembling elf girl. She ran that way, the elf whispered, pointing to a narrow passage. Said something about selling the loot to black market buyers. Naruto's jaw tightened. We're on it. Hang in there. Leaving Ray to heal them, Naruto and Sophia signaled the clones to follow. They sprinted into the labyrinth of tunnels, tracking faint footprints. The corridor twisted abruptly, descending to a small chamber lit by a single glowing crystal. The hair on Naruto's neck prickled. This place felt like a trap. A sudden hiss sliced the air. A slender figure stepped from the shadows, green eyes glinting like polished jade. Her long hair was braided into a rope, a single scale-like ornament dangling at her temple. She wore dark leathers that clung to her lithe form, and in her hand, a whip-like blade folded metal segments that could strike at range. "So, you're the meddling Hestia brats," she said, voice dripping with disdain. "Came to be heroes, have you?" Sophia raised her rapier, tension radiating from her every muscle. "More like came to stop a thief." Naruto formed a clone behind him, grip tightening on his sword. "Why are you doing this? There are safer ways to earn valis than robbing novices." She sneered. "You don't know a thing. My familia cast me aside when I refused to bend to their cruelty. Now, I take what I need." Naruto's eyes narrowed. "That doesn't justify leaving people bleeding in the dungeon." The savage grin twisted her lips. "Spare me your morality. Maybe I'll just rob you, too." With a flick of her wrist, the whip sword unraveled, snapping toward Naruto. He reacted fast, diving aside. The metal segments crashed against the stone floor, leaving a deep gouge. Sophia lunged at the opening, thrusting her rapier at the woman's flank, but the whip sword pivoted like a serpent, forcing her back. Naruto's clone flanked from behind, but the bandit spun, delivering a cunning blow that nearly took the clone's head. The real Naruto summoned a second clone, synergy crackling. "We don't have to fight to the death," he insisted, but his voice wavered, unsure if she'd relent. "Death is part of the dungeon," the woman spat, whipping her sword in a wide arc. "I won't surrender to some do-gooder children." Sophia grimaced. "She's not giving up, Naruto." He nodded, focusing chakra and found a synergy into his limbs. "Then let's subdue her. Just try not to kill her." The ensuing clash was swift and fierce. The woman's agility rivaled Sophia's, each strike a lethal flourish. Naruto's clones tried to corner her, but she used the segmented blade to keep them at bay. Sparks flew as metal met metal. She launched a downward slash at one clone, severing it in a burst of smoke. Yet that momentary victory exposed her side. The real Naruto struck, harvest crest flickering on his blade. She twisted with almost inhuman grace, the blow grazing her ribs instead of landing a solid hit. Growling in pain, she retreated a step. Sophia capitalized, stabbing for her leg. The woman hissed, abruptly changing tactics. Her blade snapped back into a short sword form and she tossed a small sphere to the ground, unleashing a noxious plume of smoke. Sophia coughed, eyes watering. Naruto reflexively shielded his face. "Smoke bomb?" "She's prepared." Through the swirling haze, he glimpsed her shadow moving swiftly toward the exit. The remaining clone intercepted, but with a crack of the whip sword, the clone dissolved. Naruto rushed forward, heart pounding, trying to nab her only to find empty corridors. Sophia staggered out of the smoke, cursing. She got away. She wiped her eyes, tears streaming from the acrid fumes. Naruto scanned the area fruitlessly, no footprints left in the stone. "Damn it." He clenched a fist. "She's skilled. Probably ex-familia," as she said. "We can't let this continue." Sophia sighed. "We'll keep looking. But she's elusive. At least we saved those novices." They returned to Ray's position, hearts heavy. 0. Over the next week, Hestia Familia's new supply network continued to flourish, despite the gloom cast by rumors of banditry. Naruto's clones tirelessly scoured the dungeon's upper floors, reaping monster drops at an astounding pace. Tessa, Darren, and other small-time crafters boasted surges in production, which in turn elevated the Familia's daily earnings. Valis piled up faster than Naruto ever imagined. But the success also drew the gaze of established merchants who wondered how a small familia could funnel so many resources so steadily. One afternoon, Naruto returned from a run to find Hestia in the main hall, conversing with a visitor. A tall, broad-shouldered man in a fine green doublet, carrying an ornate cane. "Ah, so this is Naruto," the man exclaimed, turning to face him. He had a slick grin and eyes that looked perpetually calculating. "My name is Tragus, a merchant affiliated informally with various gods of commerce. Might I have a word?" Naruto cast a quick glance at Hestia, who seemed cautious but not hostile. "Sure," he said, setting down a crate of monster hides. "What's on your mind?" Tragus folded his gloved hands over the cane. "I represent a certain coalition of business-minded individuals in Arario. We noticed your familia's remarkable output. Some might call it extraordinary." Naruto shrugged. We have an efficient system. Yes, indeed, Tragus purred. We're offering a partnership. We can connect you with major buyers, people who pay top values for bulk monster materials, no questions asked. In exchange, we negotiate a small broker's fee. Estja's posture tensed. A broker's fee? Tragus smiled, showing too many teeth. Purely for facilitating distribution. You see, amateurs often flood the market or get themselves in trouble. We keep everything neat and profitable. Naruto knew extortion when he heard it. This was a classic middleman trying to wedge himself into their supply chain. And if we decline your generous offer? He asked politely. Tragus's grin held steady, but an icy undertone seeped into his voice. Well, you might find it harder to get decent prices. Merchants are a tight-knit community. If rumors spread that your goods are questionable in origin or that you undercut the bigger houses, let's just say the business environment might become hostile. Estja glared. You're threatening us. Merely stating facts, Tragus replied, adjusting his cane. But we prefer cooperation. We can help you scale even further. You see, there's a demand for rare drops in certain shady markets. If you produce them, we can triple your profits. Naruto's jaw tightened. This is the underbelly Irene warned about. We're not interested in shady deals. We do honest business with crafters who have supported us. We pay fair wages, no extortion. Tragus's lips curled. Your approach is quaint. But naive. You'll learn Arario's ways soon enough. Silence fell, tense as a drawn bowstring. Hestia stepped forward, eyes blazing. We stand by Naruto. If you think intimidation will sway us, you're mistaken. Tragus shrugged, unaffected. Very well. My card, should you reconsider. He handed a small silver embossed card to Naruto. I'll be in touch. In the meantime, watch your back. One never knows who might want a piece of your success. He turned on his polished heel and strutted out, leaving a whiff of expensive cologne and veiled threats behind. Naruto exhaled sharply, fists clenched. That's exactly what I was worried about. As soon as we stand out, the vultures circle. Estja placed a comforting hand on his arm. We can remain true to ourselves. If some merchants boycott us, we'll keep relying on our direct relationships with local crafters. We don't need to go mainstream if it compromises our values. He nodded, trying to quell the anger. We have to be ready, though. People like Tragus might escalate. Maybe he's even connected to that snake woman or bigger threats. Estja sighed. We'll remain vigilant. In the meantime, let's keep building ties with the honest folk we trust. Naruto eyed the silver card in his hand. He flipped it around before tossing it into a nearby waste bin. Determined to outmaneuver any sabotage from merchants like Tragus, Naruto doubled down on his strategic use of shadow clones. He refined the technique to create up to 60 stable clones at once, a strain on his chakra reserves, but manageable if he paced himself. Each clone carried enough potions and basic gear for a mid-level dive. Over several days, each collective of clones was assigned a distinct area of the upper floors to farm. Meanwhile, the real Naruto led a specialized party, often with Sophia or Jeff deeper, hitting floors 10 and 11 for bigger game. This multi-pronged approach ensured a steady flow of materials without any single corridor becoming over-farmed or drawing too much attention. He quickly discovered a boon. Found the synergy extended to each clone's finishing blow. While they couldn't individually replicate the entire might of his original skill, since each clone split his chakra and stamina, they still triggered Harvest Crest, enough to produce extra drops. That alone multiplied the standard yield. The effect was staggering. Early morning. Naruto formed 60 clones in the church courtyard. Each clone received a mission briefing like infiltration squads. They parted ways, with several clones heading to floors 3-4, another to floors 5-6, and so on, ensuring coverage. Each set of clones had to link up with a small ally group if possible for safety and synergy. This also allowed novices in Hestia Familia to gain experience while feeling supported. Midday. The real Naruto and Sophia tackled a quick quest on the 10th floor, subjugating a cluster of war shadows for a local alchemist's special request. They returned by lunch, each loaded with stones and war shadow claws. Afternoon. Naruto reformed any lost clones, dispelling them in shifts to glean the day's experiences. This memory transfer alerted him to any bandit sightings, monster hotspots, or merchant attempts to intercept them. Then new clones deployed again, rotating with fresh stamina. Evening. Clones converged at designated safe points, handing off loot to real party members for transport. They then dispersed or dispelled, transferring knowledge back to Naruto. Within a week of implementing this routine, the Hestia Familia's daily yield soared beyond anything even major familias might gather with typical squads. And because Naruto personally directed the operation, his clones meticulously following the plan, there was little wasted effort or conflict. But each day, more novices approached the Hestia Familia, drawn by the rumored safety nets Naruto's clones provided. Some just wanted to level up without risking death alone. Others admired Naruto's sense of fairness. Hestia accepted them selectively, ensuring they shared the familia's ethos of mutual support. Ray devoted extra time to healing these recruits, honing her own magic. Jeff took charge of martial drills, teaching basic tactics so novices wouldn't drag down the group. Sophia, though not an official Hestia member, kept a close orbit, enjoying the thrill of these expeditions. She teased Naruto about becoming an adventure manager, but he could tell she respected his leadership. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, Hestia's basement bustled with sorting and storage. The newly minted novices learned to record drop details, label crates, and prepare shipments for Tessa or Darren. Every night concluded with at least one wagon rolling out to deliver raw materials. Their reliability became legendary. Contracts poured in, and more valis flowed back. Naruto felt a surge of satisfaction every time he dispelled a clone and absorbed the day's experiences. There were rumors that bigger familias, once indifferent, were now paying attention. So be it, Naruto thought. We'll keep doing what's right, and if someone challenges us, we'll be ready. Each evening, as he updated his Falna under Hestia's caring gaze, he felt his stats steadily climb. This regimen was forging him into a more formidable adventurer. Yet the real treasure was intangible. A sense of family and shared purpose that glowed brighter each time the sun set on another triumphant day. The weeks rolled by in a flurry of activity, and the Hestia Familia stood as a rising star in Arario's adventuring ecosystem. Their synergy lot and resource streams helped many small crafters and novices thrive. Valis kept piling up. Yet not all eyes saw them kindly. Late one night, while Naruto and Hestia were finalizing the day's ledger in the newly furnished library corner, Jeff rushed in, face pale. "We have a problem," he blurted. Hestia set aside her quill. "What happened?" Jeff took a moment to catch his breath. "A rumor spreading someone is claiming the Hestia Familia deals in contraband materials, that we're forging illusions of monster stones or hoarding stolen goods. If it catches on, the guild might investigate. We could lose our buyer connections." Naruto's stomach churned. Sounds like sabotage. Might be from that merchant, Tragus. Or maybe the snake woman is behind it. Hestia's eyes flashed with anger. "We can't let lies ruin us. Is there proof?" Jeff shook his head. "No actual evidence. Just gossip. But you know how rumors can be." Naruto stood abruptly, resolve blazing. "We'll cut it off at the source. Let's talk to Rose at the guild tomorrow. She knows our track record. We'll also gather testimonies from crafters we've helped." Hestia nodded firmly. "I'll handle the crafters. Naruto, you speak with Rose. Jeff, you find out who's spreading these rumors. Let's coordinate." Jeff saluted, relief crossing his features. "Understood. I'll check the taverns and side streets. Word is, some shady brokers are fueling the talk." They broke up for the night, each with a distinct mission. Hestia lingered as Naruto donned a light cloak. "Be careful," she murmured. "If the rumors are orchestrated by a powerful faction, you could be stepping into a trap." He gently clasped her hand. "We've overcome worse. They're messing with the wrong familia." She squeezed his hand in return, a silent promise of unwavering support. At the guild. Early the next morning, Naruto entered the guild hall. A swirl of adventurers bustled around, but he headed straight for Rose Vanet's counter. She was busy stamping forms, her usual curt expression overshadowed by a flicker of concern upon seeing him. "Back again, Naruto?" she asked, not unkindly. "Heard some odd rumors swirling." He frowned. "That's exactly why I'm here. People are saying we deal in stolen or fake materials. You know our record. Has the guild received any official complaint?" Rose consulted her ledger, lips tightening. "No formal complaint. But there's talk from certain merchant representatives. They want the guild to examine the Hestia Familia's supply chain." Naruto snorted. "So they're trying to force an audit. We have nothing to hide. But it'd be a hassle." She sighed. "The guild tries to remain neutral. However, if the rumor gains traction, an investigation might be unavoidable. You and Hestia should prepare to show your books and prove the materials are genuine." Naruto spread his arms. "We'll do exactly that. Our crafters can vouch for the authenticity of our deliveries. I just wanted to confirm there's no official ban or anything yet." Rose nodded. "Not yet. Keep me informed if you learn who's behind this smear campaign." He offered a grateful bow. "Thanks, Rose. We'll bring evidence of our honesty if needed." Her eyes flickered with an unspoken worry. "I trust you, Naruto. Just be aware these merchants can be cunning. They might stage an incident or bribe someone to find counterfeit goods on your premises." Naruto's jaw set. "We'll stay vigilant." Leaving the guild, Naruto headed to Tessa's workshop. She greeted him with an enthusiastic hug, brandishing newly crafted leather armor. When he explained the rumor, Tessa's face twisted with fury. "That's nonsense. My finished armors are top quality because of your real monster hides. I'll stand by you." Similar conversations followed at Darren's forge and other small shops. Each pledged their testimony if the guild demanded proof. But behind the warmth of these alliances, the threat loomed. A hidden web of powerful merchants or manipulative deities might orchestrate a downfall for the Hestia Familia. Armed with new resolve, he returned to the church to plan a robust defense, both legal and, if necessary, physical. That same evening, Jeff's investigation bore fruit. An informant whispered that a group of hired thugs planned to plant fake monster stones at the Hestia Familia church, then tip off a bribed guild official to storm in and discover evidence of fraud. The entire plot hinged on stealth and timing, presumably happening late at night when fewer members were around. Naruto, Hestia, and their close allies hatched a counter-plan. They would lie in wait, letting the conspirators walk into a trap. With the help of shadow clones, they'd watch every entrance to the church. Shortly before midnight, the church stood dark and silent. Carpentry tools lay in neat piles, and the usual hustle of novices organizing loot was nowhere in sight. Inside, Naruto and 4 clones, along with Jeff, Sophia, and Ray, hid in the shadows. Hestia, refusing to be helpless, stood near the side exit with a small dagger and unwavering determination. They didn't have to wait long. A group of 5 figures in hooded cloaks approached, scuttling around the perimeter. One carried a sack that clinked suspiciously, likely the fake stones. The tension crackled as Naruto exchanged hand signals with Sophia. She readied a rapier, eyes narrowed. The intruders picked a side door's lock with practiced ease. They slunk into a dim hallway. One whisper carried through the silence, "Let's get this done quick. Boss says the official shows up at dawn to catch them red-handed." They scattered, rummaging among crates and shelves, seeking a prime spot to hide the contraband. Naruto watched from behind a corner, adrenaline pumping. He was grateful Hestia had insisted on clearing out the novices for the night, no sense risking their safety in this. Finally, one intruder knelt near a large crate of legitimate monster hides, opening the sack. "Here, stuff them in, so it looks like they were mixed with real materials." Naruto gave the signal. Clone attack formation. In an instant, 4 clones leapt from the rafters, blocking the corridor exits. Jeff charged from the hallway, sword drawn, while Sophia closed in from behind with lethal grace. Ray, trembling slightly, stood ready to cast a defensive barrier if the thugs resisted. The intruders gasped in shock. One tried to bolt, but a clone tackled him. Another brandished a short blade, swinging wildly at Jeff, who parried with practiced skill, disarming him in 2 swift moves. Sophia's rapier pinned a third to the wall before they could draw a weapon. "It's over," Naruto said, stepping forward. "We know what you're doing. Who hired you?" The thug with the sack spat on the floor. "We talk, we die." Jeff twisted the man's arm, forcing him to drop the bag of fake stones. "If you don't talk, you'll face the guild's wrath and ours. Which is scarier?" Sophia pressed her rapier to the pinned man's neck. "Try us." One thug, cowering, babbled, "It was a merchant, a big shot. We don't know his name, just got orders to frame you. Something about too many monster materials, messing with profits." Naruto exchanged a grim nod with Hestia, who had appeared from the corridor. Her eyes flashed with anger. "Tragus, no doubt." Ray stepped in, incanting a paralyzing spell. "Remain still," she said, voice quivering but resolute. A faint glow bound the intruder's limbs. Naruto stooped to examine the bag. Cheap glass beads coated with some magical paint, definitely not real. Enough to fool someone at a glance. He looked at the trembling conspirators. "You realize you almost ruined lives with this?" One thug lowered his eyes. "We just needed Valis. He said it'd be an easy job." Hestia's tone was cold. "You'll be turned over to the guild for trespassing and fraud. If you cooperate, maybe you'll get leniency." They all sagged, beaten. Jeff and Sophia restrained them, tying their wrists. Naruto dispelled 2 clones, absorbing their vantage point memories, no sign of more intruders. As the night wore on, they contacted the guild. A group of guild enforcers arrived, led by none other than Rose Vanet, who snapped her quill in frustration upon seeing the scene. "This is worse than I feared," she muttered, surveying the bag of fakes. "The guild will investigate thoroughly." Naruto and Hestia provided statements, detailing how they caught the intruders red-handed. Rose took custody of the thugs, promising to interrogate them. "You might have just saved your familia from a massive scandal," she said. Naruto exhaled, relief and anger mixing. "We're done letting them push us around." Hestia touched his shoulder. "This is only the beginning. But we'll see this through, no matter what." The embers of conflict still smoldered, but the night ended with a small victory. The Hestia familia refused to be victims of deceit. Over the following days, the guild's investigation revealed direct ties between the hired thugs and the shady merchant network that Tragus represented. An outraged Rose Vanet demanded an official hearing to address the matter. The hearing would involve multiple deities and guild officials, aiming to clear the Hestia familia of suspicion and expose any conspirators. An air of tension rippled through Aurario as the date approached. Rumors flew about which powerful figures might show up. Some speculated even Frey or Loki might observe, curious about the upstart familia. The night before the hearing, Naruto paced in the church's main hall, glancing at the high vaulted ceiling. Hestia quietly joined him. "Nervous?" she asked softly. He exhaled. "A bit. We'll be surrounded by gods and top guild members. One misstep and they could twist the narrative." She laid a comforting hand on his arm. "We have evidence, testimonies, and Rose's support. Plus, the crafters will vouch for us." He mustered a smile. "I know. Still can't shake the feeling that big players like Freya might be watching." Hestia sighed, murmuring, "If Freya tries anything, we'll handle it together." Encouraged by her resolve, Naruto forced himself to rest, though sleep came fitfully. Morning arrived with a swirl of tension. The hearing was set in a grand guild auditorium typically used for public announcements. Stone columns lined the walls, and a raised dais at one end served as the seat for gods or officials presiding. Rows of benches were filled with onlookers, adventurers, merchants, and lesser deities. Naruto and Hestia entered together, followed by Sophia, Jeff, Ray, and a few novices from their familia. The hush that fell told him they were under heavy scrutiny. On the dais, a panel of officials awaited. Rose stood off to the side, flipping through documents. Next to her, Irene offered a reassuring nod to Hestia. At the center sat two imposing figures. Grand Advisor Pericles of the guild and the goddess Demeter, known for her agrarian domain but also her fairness in disputes. Beside them, arms folded, stood Tragus, an air of wounded innocence plastered on his face, as if he were the victim. Naruto's fists clenched, but he forced calm. Pericles rapped a gavel. "We gather to address allegations and counter-allegations involving the Hestia Familia's resource supply and an attempted frame. Let us begin." A series of formal statements followed. Rose presented the evidence. The captured thugs, the bag of counterfeit stones, the confessions tying them to certain merchant factions. Tragus tried to distance himself, claiming he was innocent of the conspiracy. "My associates sometimes act on their own," he said with feigned regret. Demeter leaned forward, eyes sharp. "Yet your name was mentioned in multiple testimonies." Tragus waved a hand. "Unfounded, I assure you. I have no reason to sabotage Hestia Familia. I offered them collaboration, which they refused. This might be a personal vendetta from my associates, not me." Naruto's temper flared. "You threatened us directly, remember? Told us to watch our backs." A ripple of murmurs spread among the audience. Tragus only shrugged. "A mere warning about the realities of commerce." Pericles signaled for silence, turning to Hestia. "Lady Hestia, do you have final evidence to connect Tragus to these criminals?" Hestia stepped forward. "We have the crafters Tessa, Darren, and others who can attest to his attempts to sabotage deals. We also have this record of overheard threats written by Jeff's informant, who risked his life to gather it." She held up a parchment detailing clandestine orders for Operation Glassstone, with references to Tragus's name and seals from his merchant group. A hush fell as Pericles reviewed the document. Tragus's face paled. "Forgeries. This must be a setup. Why would I sign something so incriminating?" Before he could elaborate, Demeter slammed her hand on the table. "You forget, mortal, that we gods can read your heart sincerity in a hearing of this nature. The divine energies swirling here do not favor liars." Tragus stiffened. Sweat beaded on his brow. "I." At that moment, Irene stepped forward, silver hair gleaming. "I too sense deception. Tragus, your aura is trembling. Face the truth." Tragus faltered. A frenzied panic crossed his face. "Wait. Let me." But Pericles raised a palm. "Enough. The evidence of your complicity stands. The Hestia Familia is hereby cleared of all allegations." He paused, turning a grave look on Tragus. "As for you, the guild will recommend punishment according to Arario's trade laws, likely heavy fines, public censure, and possible blacklisting." Tragus's jaw dropped, but he had no retort. Guards stepped forward to detain him. A wave of relief swept Naruto. Hestia squeezed his arm. Applause and murmurs of approval rippled through the audience. The conspirators were exposed. Their familia was vindicated. All the tension that had built for weeks seemed to dissolve in that moment of triumph. Yet, as the crowd dispersed, Naruto sensed eyes upon him, cool, incisive. Glancing around, he briefly spotted a flash of silver hair and amethyst eyes in the back row. "Freya." She vanished before he could confirm. A chill ran down his spine. One trial is over, but bigger players are watching. 0. In the weeks that followed the hearing, the Hestia Familia's reputation soared higher than ever. Tragus and his associates fell under guild scrutiny, freeing up the market from their manipulations. Freed from fear of sabotage, more independent crafters flocked to Naruto's network. The supply chain grew, though Naruto carefully managed output to avoid oversaturating the market. Hestia ensured the entire familia remained humble. She organized donation drives for the slums, distributing leftover monster meat and older gear to novices who couldn't afford better. Irene praised these efforts, calling them a model of godly compassion. Even the mercurial gods who once mocked Hestia's tiny familia began recognizing her unwavering devotion to her children. Inside the church's now spacious basement, newly installed shelves brimmed with organized crates labeled for each buyer. Subterranean storerooms extended deeper thanks to the dwarven craftsman Braun, who built a reinforced sub-level. Novices came in shifts to sort and pack items under Ray's supervision. Jeff managed logistics, ensuring everything ran on schedule. Naruto coordinated a rotating squadron of shadow clones, each assigned to different dungeon floors. Typically, he'd create 60 clones at dawn, they'd operate until midday, dispel or rotate, and new clones would spawn in the afternoon. Day by day, his chakra control improved, allowing him to maintain clones with less strain. The synergy from Falna kept each clone's harvest crest potent enough to double or triple standard yields. Adventurers outside the familia often watched in awe and sometimes envy as multiple Narutos headed into the dungeon, each leading a small team of novices or forging alliances with friendly parties. But Naruto remained approachable, forging new connections wherever he went. One surprising ally was the snake woman they'd once encountered. Rumors surfaced that she'd parted ways with unsavory contacts after narrowly escaping a bounty placed on her head. Through discreet channels, Naruto learned she was holed up near the 19th floor, ironically preying on big familia squads who ventured too deep. He sent a few clone-led search parties, hoping to find and reason with her. Though they never caught her, the hostility from bandits cooled significantly in the upper floors, perhaps a partial success. Naruto also nurtured a relationship with small-time mercenaries who occasionally provided safe escorts for novices. In exchange, the Hestia familia gave them discounted potions. This synergy further reduced accidents among lesser adventurers. Slowly but surely, Arario's underdogs were uniting under an informal umbrella of mutual aid, all thanks to Naruto's knack for forging bonds. With every new alliance, Valis poured in. The familia's coffers swelled. Hestia delegated the finances carefully, balancing expansion with philanthropic outreach. They funded new dorms for novices, training expansions, and an apothecary wing for Ray to brew potions in-house. Yet Naruto couldn't ignore the undercurrent of risk that came with this empire of friendship. One evening, after a successful day's run, Naruto sat alone in a newly built balcony overlooking the church's courtyard. The full moon bathed the city in silver light. He formed a single clone for company. They sat shoulder to shoulder in companionable silence. "Hard to believe how far we've come," the real Naruto murmured, looking down at the bustling compound below. "Remember when it was just me and Hestia, scraping for scraps?" The clone nodded, the same memories swirling in its mind. "We're forging a legacy. But we can't let our guard down. Powerful familias might still see us as a threat." Naruto sighed, feeling the weight of responsibility. "I know. And what about Freya? I swear I saw her at the hearing. She hasn't approached me yet, but I sense her interest." The clone gazed at the moon. "She's rumored to only act when she's truly fixated on someone. Maybe she's just watching for now." They both fell silent, mindful that a single goddess's whim could alter the course of everything they'd built. As he was about to store the day's loot, an unfamiliar figure approached. A slender young man with short blonde hair, wearing a crisp set of traveling robes. He bowed politely, introducing himself as Remus, a messenger of Hermes Familia. Naruto exchanged a wary glance with Sophia. "Hermes, huh?" Remus nodded, producing a scroll sealed with Hermes' emblem. "My god, Hermes, wishes to congratulate you on your success and extends an invitation to a banquet in 2 weeks' time. He's hosting it for various rising familias and wishes the Hestia familia to attend." Naruto blinked. "A banquet? Why?" Remus shrugged, half smiling. "Hermes enjoys bringing promising individuals together. He's heard tales of your synergy-based gather raid and wants to meet you. Lady Hestia is also invited, of course." Sophia stifled a laugh. This is typical of Hermes. Always wanting to rub elbows with new talent. Naruto accepted the scroll. "We'll consider it. Thank you." As Remus departed, Naruto felt excitement twine with caution. Hermes was known for his cunning. He might be an ally or a subtle manipulator, but it was worth hearing him out, especially if forging alliances with other rising familias could stabilize their position. What if Naruto was dungeon master in Danmachi? End here, and thanks for watching my video till the end.